for 2021, moving from Lexus to Audi as he joins Santalok Racing, where he's being partnered by longtime Audi expert Fred Verviche in one of 13 extremely competitive all-pro driver lineups here at Magny Cours.
Every time in GT World Challenge is really close. There is a lot of cars, a lot of really good and professional drivers, so for sure it will be a nice battle, but we are ready for it. I think the goal will be to be constant all the season, to try to fight for the championship, but for sure the other car and other drivers are really strong also, so it will be a tough battle, but we are ready for it.
Adrian Delino is back for a second year in the GT World Challenge, and the Belgian racer is joined by super successful long-time Lamborghini ace Christian Engelhardt in Dynamic Motorsports Sprint Cup Porsche, with Engelhardt already having tasted victory in the opening endurance race 3 weeks ago at Monza.
Yeah, I mean, we had a fabulous first race in Monza in the Endurance Cup, and now we're here for the first time for the first race in the Sprint Cup. And it's obviously really nice to be the only Porsche on the grid and bring Porsche back to the Sprint Cup. I think it's the first ever entry, so quite honored to be part of that, and looking forward to a great weekend. Obviously, we've been racing in endurance and various other GT3 championships already. Porsche is a very good car, very consistent over different types of circuits. So we expect to be competitive everywhere. We will give our best, and I think we know our competition well. We fight our competition also in the Endurance Cup. So let's see where we are here.
Last year's outright European champion Timo Boguslawski is back for another campaign in an ACA ASP Mercedes, and the 21-year-old is joined by Italian ace Raffaele Marciello again as he looks to add the Sprint Cup title.
I did a test in Valencia at February, and did like 1 week ago at the Alpe, at the home track of the team. So it feels like car is good. Yeah, I think teams find some new setups for the car. I think we had a good pace, and also ACA shows very pace at the Monza. So as always, the ACA is the top team. And I think
Jules Gounon has changed manufacturers, becoming a works Mercedes driver after 3 years with Bentley. The French ace has also found a new partner in this year's Sprint Cup, as he is joined in one of ACA ASP's 3 Mercedes AMGs by Romanian racer Petra Umbrărescu, who also spent last year behind the wheel of a Bentley.
Yeah, it's completely different. In endurance, it's a long race. We're sharing the car at 3 drivers, and the approach is completely different. Here it's sprint, everything is flat out. There's a lot of contact on tracks normally. The pit stops are also unrestricted. So the key part of the team is also to make very fast pit stop at the halfway through the race. And yeah, it's such a short race that you need to really push 120% every lap. So it's a completely different approach, and it's very nice to have both. Yeah, fantastic circuit. I mean, it's a legendary track, Formula 1 track. I was watching F1 when I was a kid on this track, and it's such a fast track with the 2 chicane in the middle of the track, which is amazing. And to drive also at night is something very challenging, because the track feels very fast and it's very nice. So very happy to be back here. SRO always give us mega tracks around the world, and this one is one of them.
Stefan Richelme is back in full-time competition after 2 years away, and the Monegasque racer is sharing one of CMR's pair of Bentley Continentals with 2020 French GT champion Benjamin Lessen.
Very happy about my teammate. He is looking very fast, very consistent. I love our way of working. You know, we have a good comprehension. We want to go in the same way with the balance of the car. So I'm very happy about this, and I'm really looking forward to this championship.
Ricardo Feller ended his 2020 sprint campaign within a whisker of race-winning form, and remains with the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini squad. Will race this weekend with Albert Costa after a top 3 finish at Monza.
Yeah, it was quite nice. I like the track. I love the first part of the track with the fast combination, and also with the 2 fast chicanes. I don't really like the last part, but yeah, it's quite nice overall. I think we have a good baseline. We are still working on it to improve, but I think we're in a good position for the weekend.
Pierre-Alexandre Jean is only 20, but he's already in his 2nd year of GT3 racing, and he's joined by teenage single-seater graduate Ulysses de Pauw in his quest for Silver Cup glory.
think it's cool because I drove in the night in Le Mans other night race, and there is no problem about this. But I mean, it's always something new, because even if you know a track almost by heart, you come by night and everything's different. You cannot take the same signals to brake or something like this. So everything comes quicker also because of the night. So it's more challenging, but I mean, we are here for this, so let's do it.
Alexander West landed the Endurance Pro-Am title last year and already a winner in this year's Endurance Opener at Monza. He's back for more, partnered this year in his Garage 59 Aston Martin by platinum-rated four-time British GT champion Johnny Adam.
So far a good start to the season at Monza. That was an eventful race. This will be difficult. I mean, we haven't done the sprint series before, so for me it's a way of practicing racecraft and being sort of on qualifying pace and improving that. So, but it's we not that many people or that many cars in the Pro-Am, but they're all very, very good. So it will be interesting.
There are 7 manufacturers shooting for glory in this year's Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, with cars from Audi, from BMW, from Ferrari, from Lamborghini, from McLaren, from Mercedes, and from Porsche. And this is how the points stand worldwide after the early season races in America, Australia and Europe, with Mercedes leading by a small margin from Lamborghini and Porsche holding 3rd position. Night has fallen over Magny Cours, and we're all set for the first of our 2 races of this weekend's meeting, the first round of the Sprint Cup for 2021. My name is Bruce Jones, delighted to be joined as ever by John Watson. We've got a cracker ahead if it's going to be anywhere near as good as last year's.
Well, look at the temperatures. I mean, it's come down a little bit from about an hour ago, but 19 ambient, 19.3 track temperature. Much warmer than they had last night when they had qualifying.
But let's take a look at the grid. Charles Weerts on pole position. Ricardo Feller swapped from 14 Lamborghini to 163. Sister car Arthur Rougier took his place and qualified 3rd fastest. Very impressive indeed. Patrick Kujala will start 4th. Also in the Silver Cup class, Ezekiel Perez-Companc and Lucas Stoltz, who fleetingly held pole position but ended up down in 6th. Oscar Tunjo really flying again, the Colombian in 7th. Timo Bogoslawski, overall champion in 2020, is starting 8th, sharing with Raffaele Marciello. A driver on the rise, flying high, if you will. Frank Bird, 9th. Tommaso Mosca, again, racing well for Attempto Racing in their Audi, one of their pair of Audis here at Magny Cours. Chris Froggatt, champion in Pro-Am last year, now in the Silver Cup class. He'll start the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari in 11th. And Leo Roussel moving across from sports prototypes to race in GTs. Welcome to Leo. And Petru Umbrarescu will be starting 13th. Thomas Tujala from 14th on the grid. Mercedes alongside Aston Martin. Then Aurélien Panis, Santalot Racing, and Ulysses Depot stepping across from Formula 3. The Belgian teenager will start 16th. Konstantin Tereshchenko for ACA ASP, and Benjamin Lassen in one of the 2 CMR Bentleys starts in 18th place. Young Benjamin Goethe 19th on the grid. Another young racer, Alex Acker, alongside in a pair of Audis on the row, number 10. In Constellapalainen, yet more Finns in this grid, and Ollie Wilkinson in the sole McLaren in this race will start 21st and 22nd on the grid. Then Adrian Delina in the 1 Porsche starting today down in 23rd, and the top Pro-Am driver Alexander West will start on 24th grid position in his Garage 59 Aston Martin as we head down through the final sequence of corners and then get into the first of these 1 hour races. The lights are out on the safety car. That will pull into the pit lane. This is turn 15 at the bottom of the hill at Lycée Pin, the hairpin, and then there's the right-left complex onto the start-finish straight, and the lights are red on the gantry. Looks so Charles Weerts has got it in the right position. Everyone's got to go 2 by 2. It'll be a long hold because those at the back can't see it, but suddenly it was actually a very short hold, John. Who's going to burst out into the lead, out of the dazzle of the headlights? And is Charles Weerts, the young Belgian, in front of those 2 Lamborghinis. Down through Grand Curve they go, and then into the super critical corner that goes on forever. Estoril.
Yes, Estoril leads on to the quickest part of the racetrack. That's the Gulf straight on board. with the 14 Emile Frey Racing Arthur Rouget. Cars run wide on the exit, kicking up the dust. Nobody seems to have had any serious issues on this opening 2 corners of a 1-hour race.
Okay, place being gained there through the kink of golf, but up to the hairpin at the top of the hill, and it's still the Audi at the front of the field. Nice and neat, nice and tidy, but as you can see, riding on board a few places, being attempted, not necessarily making the move stick, but really it was all about nailing it from pole position for Team WRT. There's the order: Charles Viets, Ricardo Feller, Arthur Rouget. Just to point out, Rouget just happened to be present with the team when Norbert Siedler injured himself slightly with the crash in qualifying. He stepped down, Rouget stepped in, and here he is running in 3rd position on home ground.
So still halfway round the opening lap, coming through what they call the 180. Then the climb back up through the curves to the left, then back up to the Imola chicane, the quick right and left, and then get the car straightened up on the brakes. Then the tight hairpin at Chateau d'Eau, the drop down, but looking already the gap between the first 4 cars and the rest of the field. The first 2 rows more or less as they started making that mini break. Exactly so. In fact, the first place change in the top 6 is Ezekiel Porris Compact losing 5th place as Lucas Stoltz starts to make the moves in the white Top Sport WRT Mercedes. Now, corner cutting there at the chicane, and there may be a position having to be handed back there. Those 2 chicanes, the uphill, the downhill one, and very tempting to go in side by side, but as we know, John, over the decades, it doesn't really work. You have to go nose to tail through them. Oh, there's a flash and a place change down the order. One of the WRT Audis flashing its way through. I think that was car 31. Chris Froggatt is fighting, and let's just check. Yeah, Frank Bird's made the move stick, and he's moved up that position. Well, let's have a look at some VMAX top speeds coming up, and it's Ulysses de Pauw. He's stepped up from single seaters. He's fastest so far in the race, sharing it with fellow Belgian Benjamin Lecen, 256 kilometres an hour. Bear that in mind. But another thing you need to bear in mind is the fact that we saw the drivers getting out after a half-hour touring car race looking very hot indeed. We saw it was nearly 20 degrees air temperature before these drivers got in, and for Lucas Stoltz in 5th place, he's actually one who could relax a little bit because he's got nearly a 3-second advantage to the field behind him, and his car's running in clear air. Almost everybody else is nose to tail, so what little bit of cooling is available out there, he at least is grabbing that, and I expect Stoltz to move on the tail to make it a 5-car battle for the lead. This is the middle of the field, looking at corner speed in Imola. Imola is the chicane, it's a high-speed chicane, 172 clicks. Chris Froggatt, the car we're riding on right now, is the quickest, even quicker than the race leader.
Well, that is super impressive. And it's not just a small margin, it's 3 kilometres an hour. At Imola, if you need reminding, it's 12th turn on the circuit, 12th and 13th turns. It's a right, a left. It's sort of over a bit of a crest as well, so very, very tricky indeed. But we have a spinner. Round goes the 87 Mercedes. That's unfortunate indeed for Konstantin Tereshchenko, one of the 2 Russian drivers in the race. And all his good work is coming unstuck. But look, it's so dark around 80% of this lap. Of course, the full burst of sunlight. Not sunlight, sorry, floodlights at various points, but most notably as Chris Froggatt gets the tail very out of order.
I mean, that wasn't the tail light, that was the whole car in a uncontrolled 4-wheel drift. And there's the penalty. The Bentley running behind gained the momentum. Froggatt had to get out of the throttle to keep the Ferrari pointing in the straight line. Now overtaken by the Bentley, which is the quickest car in a straight line, and he outbrakes himself. So Chris Froggatt has got that position back. He's probably sweating like a racehorse, thinking, got away with that one.
Fella is clearly leading Rouget, but Rouget is learning a lot. He's already tied in with his team. He raced for them early this year in the endurance round at Monza, but here he had to suddenly step up to the plate when Norbert Siedler injured himself, and that led to the changing of Fella from number 14 Lamborghini to 163. But right now, some laps he gains and some he loses by quite a lot to the race leader Charles Viets. Charles is just looking very comfortable.
At the replay, there's the reason why we maybe lost Roussel, because that car in the gravel trap of Frank Bird. What are you doing, Frank Bird? You were in 10th place.
Well, so suddenly 2 Audis in problems. Last time around it was Leo Roussel. This time round and round it was Frank Bird. He did press by picking his way into the top 10 with Team WRT. But for the team now, they've just got to focus on what lies ahead. It's the pit stops, and they're coming very soon indeed. And he was one of the Team WRT riders.
Yeah, so that was the WRT team getting ready. Now, I wonder whether there's going to be the earliest opportunity pit stop for WRT to bring the lead 32 Audi in, to hand it over to Dries van Thor. Yellow flag. Circuit's going to go full course yellow. So there we go, full course yellow. Now, that's going to open up an opportunity, because there'll be a minute and 46 seconds before the pit lane opens. They want to remove that. It is the Audi indeed, just looking, it's the 31. So they want to remove Frank Bird's car. And this is going to throw another little maverick into the strategy of all those teams, because they are going to wonder, will they make their pit stop now? I am assuming that pretty much everybody's going to take the opportunity.
And the pit window is delayed. It was due to open in, well, 10 seconds from now, and it certainly is not going to be. We'll let you know when it will open as soon as we get a message.
So there we see, it's difficult to tell precisely whether it was a driver error or whether he was having to make some adjustments. He was running behind a group of cars, and that group of cars would have been Chris Fogart, Timo Boguslawski.
Restart on short notice. Restart on short notice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Green flag. Green flag. Pit window is open.
There is the lead car.
Goes on round, doesn't call the
Continues,
pits.
yeah.
Johnny Atten now, the two Lamborghinis coming in to make it very busy for the ML Fry Racing Garage. Would you have brought them in on the same lap, John?
Most certainly not. I mean, they're going to end up stacking the two cars. And you know, I don't know whether that was a command from the pit wall or not, but well, both cars were up. But it's very difficult to work around two cars in the same team with the amount of space available in the pit lane. They're doing a great job not tripping over one another, but it's so easy. If the 14 gets finished, look, it's boxed in now by one of the Bentleys. So the 163 is rolling. The 14's about to roll as well. So good work by Emil Fry to get those cars, whether it's at a safe or unsafe release, because that was the Audi 32 that almost contacted the 14 Lamborghini and what was the lead car. So the 163 Lamborghini, in my opinion, has taken the lead in the pit stops.
Absolutely did. They came in almost nose to tail, and you can see the lollipop operative waving it in front of the driver. Why? Because Kelvin van der Linde waited for the second Lamborghini to go. Oh, tried to stop the driver too late. Here comes Kelvin van der Linde, just taken over from Benjamin Goethe. Couldn't quite gain a position there in the pits, but it was close.
I was getting overexcited. I thought that was the 32, but you're right, it's the Gulf sponsored. Kelvin van der Linde behind the wheel. That car will suddenly light up with the South African behind the wheel.
Slight hesitation for the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari as Benjamin Ites gets it back onto deck, and the third Lamborghini 114 that was started by Constant Apolainen. Now Jack Aitken will be going down, but it was noticeable the difference in the pit stop time between the 14 and 163 Lamborghinis. They came in nose to tail. Oh, now Jack Aitken has stalled, so 2 out of their 3 pit stops have not gone well.
Well, that one certainly was a disappointment. Jack Aitken looking forward to seeing how he makes progress, having now got the opportunity to start a race. As we look at the race leader coming down the hill. So this is coming up to his conclusion of his 19th lap. Is he going to come in this time? Pit window is still open. He's coming in this time.
And unlike the vast majority of his rivals who came in at the first opportunity, he's coming in at the second opportunity. Still other drivers waiting to take over other cars from the Team WRT camp, but this one is all about that driver there in the black, yellow and red. Very patriotic livery on his Belgian helmet there, and bang, out comes the tall figure of Charles Weerts. In jumps his shorter compatriot, Dries van Tor. Meanwhile, out on the circuit, pushing as hard as he possibly can. This is the number 14 car. Arthur Rougier started. It's Alex Fontana at the wheel at the moment. Pushing, but it's the sister car, 163, that should be making the break at the moment. Had the far better pit stop.
And good start by Dries van Tor, gets the car rolling, but what is going to be the gap? Not here. It'll be by the time they come to conclusion. Van Thor will be on cold or cooler, certainly, tyres than those that are going to be competing against him. There's the 163 Lamborghini, which will be, I suspect, in second place by the time all the pit stops are washed through.
You'd certainly think so, John. So it's Albert Costa pressing on, and of course the gaps seem large, but you're quite right. Dries van Tor's coming out. He's got to get some heat in his tyres, and that gap will really reduce. And let's see where they're placed when they get to the hairpin at the top of the hill. And there's the answer. Gap. There's one car between them, and it looks like it's about a 5-6 second gap, if not more, as the Audi goes down the hill. So they too have gained in the pit stop. There's the damage on the back of, yes, certainly some Something's melted the back of the Ferrari there, but a great run from Foggett, great speed in parts, but certainly was using the curves. That's not looking as it left the showroom, John.
No, it's not, and I just wonder has the exhaust system been damaged, because that looks as if there's been extreme heat or something at the rear of that bodywork and has caused or is causing a problem.
I've got a slight theory there, John. Remember we saw that drift.
Oh,
that's not drifting, that's rubbing. That's they might say it's racing, but side-by-side contact.
Yeah,
there.
going over the curb on the inside.
So let's just round out how it was before the pit stops. It was 32 from 163 from 14. It's like that right now. But Maro Engel's gained position. He's moved ahead of the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, as has Rick Broikers up into 5th place, the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes. So 2 Mercedes working their way towards the cars ahead, but it's nearly a 10-second interval, unfortunately for them. But look at this charge. It's closed right down, because suddenly Stoltz is gaining ground. Sorry, not Stoltz. Engel has taken over that white Mercedes and is closing all the time on Alex Fontana. Fontana's car delayed in the pits a little bit.
In the meantime, the gap between 1st and 2nd place, Albert Karsten in the 163 Lamborghini, is 8+ seconds. It's this battle right now for the final podium position. Alex Fontana in the Lamborghini and Maro Engel in the Mercedes. Right now, Maro Engel is the quicker of the 2 cars, but being quicker doesn't automatically mean you're going to get past the car you're following. Fontana has got all the tools he needs to keep the Mercedes at bay. It's only if the Mercedes can get alongside and make a clean pass, then will Fontana realise that the Mercedes is the quicker of these 2.
Now riding on board with Fred Verviche, a driver who knows an Audi R8 LMS forwards, backwards and sideways, but he's finding himself down in 12th position, sharing with Aurelian Panis for the first time this year, and expect him to be a driver who gains positions before this race is out.
Well, I mean, I love watching Fred Verviche drive because he brings excitement. For a man who looks so undemonstrative, he is certainly behind the wheel as far as anybody out there, but of course track position is such. Down in 12th place, he's just a half a second behind Jules Gougnot. Jules Gougnot, he ain't a walk in the park either.
Certainly isn't. After 3 years racing for Bentley, he's determined to put a good one in on his first performance here with the Acura ASP team in 11th place there, and all over the tail of Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Now observing that battle from just about 2 or 3 seconds further down the track is Fred Verviche. Matteo Drudi still getting all the attention, and that's not very much. Raffaele Marcello, a lot more. He was a pit car. Somebody got into the pit lane. Wow, I thought somebody had actually overshot the corner, but the fact they came into the pits, one of the Mercedes, I think.
Warning flag to car 26.
In fact, it's Fred Verviche who's dived through the pits. It did seem as though a driver had got the braking very deep there in the pits. Could it well be a punch with all that debris at the outside of the circuit? You'd have to put the clever money on that. So just as we said, watch him gain places. Unfortunately, he's lost them, and up onto the jacks goes Fred for Santalot Racing. That's number 26 car. Don't forget their teammate, the sister car, Leo Roussel, went for a spin early in the race. So it's not been their dream result. This time last year, they took one of the 2 wins here. Yeah, they took the rear wheel off and had a look around the suspension. Maybe Fred Verviche felt there was something in the back of the car that was not normal. But look at this battle going on. Wow, I tell you, Raffaele Marcello and Matteo Drudi, there ain't an awful lot being left by either, and Marcello gets the slightly better line around the 180, follows literally in the tire tracks as they make their way up the hill, up into this really exciting part of the racetrack. Raffaele goes one side, trying to make Drudi go defensive through the Imola chicane, cuts back to the left now, under braking up the hill, up into Chateau d'Eau. He goes wide, whereas Drudi stays tight. Can the undercut make it? Can he make it stick? The drive off is sort of, but not quite, I was going to say favouring Marcello, but he's got alongside under brakes. He's got it, done a good pass, all well thought through and executed prior to coming through the Imola chicane. Couple of 2 or 3 years ago, when Raffaele Marcello crossed over from single seasons to GT3 racing, he took to it like a duck to water. Just seen Maro Engel pulling off just behind the graphics. The white Mercedes, he was fighting for 3rd place overall, suddenly slowed, and I'm afraid for him, he's not making it back to the pits. He's exited Chateau d'Eau, but got a little further. That is a terminal issue. Well, we've just seen Maro Engel pull off, and Gemma's managed to go quickly down the pit lane, and she's found Engel's teammate, the driver who started. That's Luca Stoltz.
Luca, we've just seen the car pull off with Maro at the wheel. Do you know what's happened?
Yeah, no, not really. I didn't hear the radio call. It just seemed like there was something on the rear left, but I don't know what was the issue in the end.
but it was really unfortunate because it was P4, so it was actually quite good. We had a difficult qualifying, but the guys did a mega job at pit stop, and we gained some places. So yeah, it's really a shame.
On small things races concerned, I just got some other news in my ear from Gemma saying that Ricardo Fella, his radio failed during the full course yellow period, which is possibly why those two Lamborghinis came in right next to each other, but his was the leading one of the pair, so that was going to come in anyway. But still the waved yellow flags for Maro Engel's stricken Mercedes. The drivers have passed it several times, they know it's there, it's not a threat for them, and it's certainly not a threat for Dries Van Tor. Get the braking right down into Lycée Pain. Tick that one off, and now it's just turned 16 and 17. There they are, onto the start-finish straight, and in an instant there is the checkered flag early in the start-finish straight. Lights are being a flash for Team WRT, and getting down from his chair, watching the action, Charles Weert's first win of the Sprint Cup for 2021 in the bag.
Excellent drive indeed. Just I was getting excited. The fact the next sprint run will be at Zandvoort in the middle of June. But I mean, a very, very composed drive by Charles Weert and Dries Van Tor, and WRT, well, back to the winning ways we're so familiar with.
Well, still fighting down the order, and there is Andrea Bertolini heading for victory in the Pro-Am class. They, of course, has started stone last, but has built on the excellent work from Louis Michels. But it's cheers and whoops and hollers down the Team WRT garage. They've drawn first blood in the 2021 Sprint Cup and did a very good job indeed. So let's go down. We have Charles Weert, who started from pole, and Dries Van Tor. Gemma's caught them. Let's hear what they think about how they won the race.
Charles, Dries, a fantastic result. Dries, when we spoke to you on the grid, you said to me earlier that you felt confident, and surely you had reason to.
I mean, first of all, it's a big hats off to the team. I mean, we've been working really hard over the winter, and honestly, I think everybody's seeing that it's really working out. So, I mean, it's we really tried to be working on the car the whole winter, and I mean, the car is just amazing to drive. And yeah, Charles did an amazing start. The mechanics did an amazing pit stop. So yeah, it's a nice team one. Nice one for the team. Sorry.
Thank you, Jason. Charles, of course, like Drew said there, you did a fantastic start, a great first stint.
Yeah, I mean, that was a perfect situation for us, starting from pole with the elbows a bit. Then, yeah, the car was, as Dries said, amazing to drive. And the boys did an amazing, a lot of work during the winter, so really pleased. And yeah, again, as I dedicate my pole for Kurt's daughter, he actually asked me if I could bring him something to put flowers, because he got a lot of flowers. So I will be more than pleased to give him the trophy. So that one is again for you, Kurt.
So great performances there from Team WRT. They came top. Look at that result. Charles Weert started it and Dries Van Tor finished it, winning by 6.4 seconds at the end. They could back off. They had an advantage of over 10 seconds over the leading Emil Frey Racing entry. Ricardo Fella started that, Albert Costa brought it home. And then Arthur Rougier, Alex Fontana won the Silver Cup class in third overall, also in an Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini, followed in the Silver Cup class by Ezekiel Perez-Companc and Rick Broikers, who've been caught hand over fist by Raffaele Marcello at the end, but held on to take that fourth place. Tommaso Mosca and Matteo Drudi, the Tempter Racing Audi, rounding out the top six, chased hard by Yusuf Oaxaca and Oscar Tunyo. So there are the top 15 runners, and some great performances lost outside the top 10 under cover of darkness. So here are winners taking winners' trophies for the first time in the Sprint Cup in 2021. Will it be the last? Charles Weert grabs the check as well, the big cardboard check, and Dries Van Tor walks out to stand in front of the sponsors' logos. There we are, 10,000 euros, 2 drivers' trophies, and 1 for Team WRT as well. They've put their colours to the flag. It's not as sunny as it was yesterday. We've seen the night racing, and almost every time the cars go on the track, John Watson, the conditions seem different here at Magny Cours. Is this going to have a role to play? Is there going to possibly even be rain?
Wow, well, a lot of questions to answer there, Bruce. Certainly the temperature feels slightly cooler. You can see the sky, as opposed to what we had yesterday and into the evening. It was a clear sky all day. Now that cloud is rolling in. Somehow doubt there will be rain today. But one little fact I'm going to... Oh, there is a bit of a 22.6. Not bad ambient. Slightly cooler on the track, 18.2. But that sky did look threatening over the final 2 corners. It's the wind. There you are. That will have a bearing. And when we get the wide angle, we will see which direction that wind is blowing. But whatever it is, as all modern racing drivers will tell you, the wind effect is the biggest single effect in how a car handles these days. Well, to me, that's a load of wind, frankly. But anyway, an interesting little fact from yesterday, and I wonder will it play out here this afternoon. The grid for last night's race, the top three finished in their starting positions. So whether that'll happen this afternoon or not, as we look at the racetrack.
Well, of course, if you look at the top right-hand corner, you've got the Adelaide hairpin just at the end, just at the start of the second stint of the three around the lap. That is where most of the passing takes place. But today, at least they can see the circuit. Last night was very dark indeed. Let's go down to the grid because Gemma Scott has caught up with last year's outright champion. This year, Timo Bogoslawski is going for the Sprint Cup honours.
Timo, obviously last year you had a fantastic season, winning the championship. This year you're back with Raffaele as well. Last night, first race out, went fairly well for you, but not quite as you'd hoped. What are we going to see today?
I think we will try to fight for the podium, but Audi and Lambo looks better when Mercedes beat it here. But yeah, it is what it is. I think if we'll do a good start, so we have a good chance. Maybe overtake some cars in the pit stop because our crew is really good on this.
It's really very windy down here. It's like a big wind tunnel on the grid. Yeah. How much does that affect you?
I think it's not a big problem. So yeah, for sure you will feel the wind, but not so much. It's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good race.
Thank you.
So Timo Bogoslawski will be starting today. His car will be starting from 6th on the grid. Of course, he will be taking a second stint. It's Raffaele Marcello who will be taking the start. Timo commented on the fact that Audis and Lamborghinis were looking good here, but we do have a Mercedes on pole. There it is, Mauro Engel and Luca Stolz was homing in last night on a podium position. Then the problem with the left rear wheel, so they've got to be hoping the number 6 Mercedes goes better today, John.
Well, the grid position in any event you take part in is crucial to the outcome. And again, as we went back to last night, pole position car, the Audi 32, won the race from pole position. Never actually got headed other than in the overlap during the pit stops. But once that all washed through, it was Dries van Thor and Charles Verts who took that victory relatively comfortably. Well, you say relatively comfortably by about, well, a few tenths of a second, whatever it was. I think it was 6 seconds in the end. The wind factor, we can see on the grid, just the photographers there getting blown around is the McLaren. Glad to see this car up on the second row of the grid.
Well, that's the McLaren, but Lamborghinis flew yesterday. So let's go down and speak to one of their absolute stars of car number 14. It's starting 5th. Let's hear from Alex Fontana.
Obviously down here now alongside Alex on the front row. He's going to put a big sprint in. What are you going to be doing for the second part in your stint?
I will be pushing like always. Yeah, let's see how it goes. It's quite windy, so yeah, it will affect the balance a bit, I guess. Yeah, let's see how it goes, how the start goes. Albert will do a great job, I think. Qualifying was good, and then yeah, we see.
We seem to be seeing a great pace from the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, I think our car likes this track.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So busy on the grid, quite grey weather on the grid, but lots of focus because, John, the first corner comes up very quickly here at Grand Courbe. It's a kink to the right, but then the long corner that follows, you've got to be in position to get down the inside there.
It's inevitable going into Grand Courbe on the opening lap. The cars are all very closely packed or matched together, and of course you've got that gravel trap on the outside of Grand Courbe, which will inevitably capture one of these 27 entries as we go on to the first racing lap. Then you've got the very quick switch back into the semi-banked, and it's a long 180-degree Estoril corner. Key corner, because that leads on to the fastest part of the racetrack. You need to get through and exit it without loading the car too heavily. If you do that, then you drag the car performance down, and you will lose positions when it comes to that long end of the straight.
Well, the Lamborghini's looking good. And let's go down to the car that's starting on pole position, and we can hear from Luca Stolz.
Luca, obviously, Mauro starting the car, having put the fantastic time in there in qualifying. Clear track ahead of you. You think you can get ahead?
Yeah, we hope so. We had a really unlucky race yesterday, and the guys did a mega job in the night to put the car together. And Mauro sectored on pole, really good. So I'm really looking forward to the race now. And we saw yesterday that when you're running clean air, it's obviously quite good on this track. But it's really windy today. Yeah, let's just see.
Obviously, down into the first corner, you've got a lot of cars piling in behind you. Can we expect to see anything clean?
Well, I hope he has a clean start and then can lead the race and then keep it until the pit stop. And then, yeah, we just fight it out until the end.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Always good to hear from Lucas Stoltz. Plays very straight bat. He's always absolutely clear about his thing. Now, this is a car that could and should have been on pole position. Unfortunately, we had Stefan Richelme spinning backwards across the start-finish line just as Pierre-Alexandre Jean was coming down the hill with 2 fastest sectors of anybody. He's starting 7th, sharing with young Ulysses de Pauw, but that was looking like the performance of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he was, one might say, denied the opportunity to take that pole position. The other factor that's important and interesting with the 2 Bentleys, 107 and 108, they've been consistently the fastest cars down the long Gulf Straight by about 3 or so kilometers per hour over the best of the rest. And that's an advantage that, if you are near the front, will play to your advantage. But of course, it's getting through the traffic, and you can see, looking back 4 rows, already it's very congested as you go into Grand Curve on the opening lap.
Busy. Now we're starting to see the cars in all their beauties. Jack Aitken will start, showing with Constantine, the young British racer, was going increasingly well as he adapts from single-seaters to GT3 racing. And almost everybody who's come across this year, including Callum Ilott, who absolutely starred at Monza. It's great to see drivers going, hey, why didn't we know about this before? Getting in, enjoying it as well. Fred Verviche, we need more from that car. That came into the pits, you saw it in the highlights package, didn't go back out again, but starting 10th, a little bit better, but here on their home turf, Santalot Racing, it's not been a dream meeting for them so far.
No, I mean, they had a terrible race, to be truthful about it. Both cars were tired, so they will be looking for something better here this afternoon. As Christopher Hasse, another Audi driver that didn't fare well last night either. So Christopher Hasse, we know what he's capable of in an Audi, and at the minute, consensus says, in race conditions, Audi's Lamborghini's looking very strong indeed. But I go back to my comment, Bruce, earlier on. Position. So if you're on the front row of the grid, in a Mercedes, in a Lamborghini, a McLaren in the second row, an Audi in the second row, any one of those 4 different brands has got the capacity to walk away here a podium or a victor.
Now, how about Aston Martin, their best placed car on the grid? It's starting 12th. We've just seen John and Adam on board. Lead car in Pro-Am. The car that won Pro-Am last night started 27th and last. That was the AF Corsa Ferrari. But you think the Scot, Johnny Adam, will be pushing incredibly hard to give a great advantage to Alexander West when he takes over, and see if they can take today's Pro-Am glory.
Yeah, Aston starting on the 6th row of the grid, so that's a big advantage for that Pro-Am entry. And of course, once Johnny Adam brings the car back in, Alexander West hopefully will have the benefit of Johnny Adams' expertise behind the wheel.
Rick Breukers will get to start the Mad Panda Motorsports Mercedes down in 15th place on the grid, but that came home 4th overall last night. Ezekiel Perez-Compenc will take the second part of the race. Matteo Drudi and Tommaso Mosca, what are they doing down in 16th? They were fighting at the top end last night, but with these 2 one-hour races, you often get these incidents where in one race the car places well, in the other they don't. So the real quality to get both of your drivers qualifying well, it really does reap dividends in terms of results.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying for last night's race was held in the early or middle afternoon when it was very much warmer, higher ambient, higher track temperatures. Qualifying for this race took place at 10 o'clock this morning when track and ambient temperatures were very much lower. And of course, likewise, teams have got to use the number of sets of tyres that they've got to their own advantage. So maybe some people have held back tyres thinking, is it to our advantage to do the best for qualifying and then worry about what we've got for the second part of the race, or not?
So the roar of thunder as the cars go around to start their formation lap, and last night all we could see at this point was a blaze of lights in the darkness. Mauro Engel will start on pole, his Mercedes ahead of Albert Costa in the lead Lamborghini. Lamborghini's looking great here. Ben Barnicoat, stunning qualifying lap for a while. He was top for McLaren, for Jota. Dries Van Toor, last night's co-winner with Charles Weerts. Team WRT, their Audi starts 4th. And Alex Fontana, the second of the Lamborghinis, and Raffaele Marcello, seeing what he's going to be able to do from 6th on the grid. Pierre-Alexandre Jean could have been on pole in his CMR Bentley, got frustrated at the end. And Jules Gounon, yes, he's in a Mercedes this year after 3 years racing for Bentley. Then comes Jack Aitken in the third of the Lamborghinis from Emil Frey Racing, and Fred Verviche. Hopefully we will see him coming forward if Santilot Racing has got their setup right here for Magny Cours. Then comes his teammate Christopher Haase and Johnny Adam, who's the top Pro-Am runner in 12th place on the grid. Whole host of Silver Cup drivers behind him, so that was a great run from Johnny Adam. Yusuf Pohaka in the second of the top sport Mercedes, and Jim Pla sharing as ever with Jean-Luc Beaubeli. No, in fact, he's with Konstantin Tereshchenko for the ACA ASP Mercedes number 87, a change for this year. Rick Broikes, we saw the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes on the grid. Matteo Drudi, likewise. Mercedes and Audi, two cars that could and should work their way into the top 10 in this 27 car field. Richiro Tomita, that car was the cursed one from Team WRT. Problems with him, for him and his teammate Frank Bird. Kelvin van der Linde, you never expect to see the South African that far down. Look out for a charge from car number 30 being shared with Benjamin Goethe. Christian Engelhardt, we haven't seen the flashes of speed we expected from the car, from the team, the Porsche crew that won the Enduro round at Monza 3 weekends ago. Dominic Baumann sharing with Valentin Pierberg in another Mercedes down towards the tail of the field. Andrea Bertolini, he won last night the Pro-Am class with Louis Michiels. He's down in 21st. Nikolai Quillard alongside the second of the two Garage 59 Aston Martins. Then comes Enrique Chavez, the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini, the second of the Bentleys. Stefan Richelme, 2 years away from full-time racing. He's down at the back. He was the one that spun backwards across the finish line to curtail the end of qualifying. Then Christopher Meet, second last row of the grid. There is a charge about to happen. Benjamin Hites, he should go far, far better than that qualifying position. And then right at the back, the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari. Giorgio Roda will start and hand over to Chris Frog, and he got injured last night. The car did, racing the Silver Cup class. But right now, it's all eyes around the circuit as the field, 27 cars coming to play in a lightly grey, very windy day at Magny Cours. Who's your money on, John?
You could easily say it's got to be in the number 4 Mercedes. That's the car starting in pole position. But I have a feeling that 163 Lamborghini, Albert Costa, Ricardo Fella, such good pace all through the weekend and such aggression from Albert Costa. Watch and see what the Lamborghini does when this race goes green, because already, oh, look at him, he's hunting, he's almost teasing Maro Engel and forcing Engel to, well, watch and see what the Lamborghini and the Mercedes do through Grand Curve. It's going to be exciting.
Well, the cars could not get closer, but Lucas Stoltz will be looking with a smile because Maro Engels absolutely banged it out of that final corner. And in fact, second place now in the hands of still the Lamborghini, fleetingly out of sight behind the big white Mercedes, and Ben Barnicoat third in the McLaren. But Maro Engel did everything right, and in behind, getting very, very busy indeed. The 89 Mercedes trying to make moves, and that is being pushed very hard indeed. That's Jules Gounon who's gained so many places and unfortunately lost them almost immediately. He'd already gained 3 places and it all went horribly wrong, John.
Yeah, I think Jack Aitken also got sort of caught up in it. Ben Barnicoat comes up, tries to get down the inside of the Lamborghini. That was a great start from Maro Engel. He got a jump on Albert Costa. I thought Costa might have been a little bit sort of more aware that the Mercedes had control at the start, allowed a small gap to open up when it didn't really need to.
Well, fantastic rear shot, and the Bentley looks big standing still, looks even bigger when it homes in on the back of the camera on the second of those Lamborghinis. There's that 107 Bentley being pushed very, very hard indeed at the moment by Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Riding on board with Fred Verviche, we know he started down the order somewhat, but he's certainly making good progress at the moment, up into 8th place for Santilot. He's gained 2 places already, some of them courtesy of Jules Gounon, who's now settling back down into the pack.
And Kelvin van der Linde, the Golf Liberty Audi, he was going one side of the track to the other side of the track to try and find space. Everybody is so evenly matched around this 4.4 kilometre. Down the inside, down the outside, big challenge from Ben Barnicoat. Wrong part of the track to get past Albert Costa, but certainly intent is absolutely written all over Ben Barnicoat's face.
Well, you have to say that's fantastic news for Maro Engel. What he really wants is for Costa to be challenged, to have to look in his mirrors, and certainly Ben Barnicoat was having a look, but over the course of this incredibly busy race meeting, there have been very, very few passing manoeuvres, with the exception of Marcello's last night down into Lycée Pin. That is really quite a lead that's starting to open up when they cross the start-finish line, 1.1 seconds, and I think Maro Engel is even further ahead now of Albert Costa.
Yeah, so clear air for Maruengel gives him all the options that he needs. As we see the 14 trying to dive down the inside, gets ahead of the Bentley, so good. Well, in fact, it was defence. The Bentley was about to get past the Alex Fontana, number 14 Lamborghini. So again, that straight line speed of the Bentley paying dividends in that attempted overtake.
Johnny Adam right up behind the white, black and blue Mercedes of Jim Pla. That's been shared with Konstantin Tereshchenko. And he's taking a look as he puts the power down, leading the Pro-Am class absolutely handsomely, having qualified 12th on the grid. That was always going to be likely, but Johnny Adam doing a great job, and Alex West, his teammate, were very happy indeed.
Again, you can see the Gulf there. It is the Kelvin van der Linde looking anywhere and everywhere. That was out of the 180 on the run up through the Imola chicane, up to the high part of the circuit. So it's still pretty much status quo. The Bentley certainly is the car that has got the pace in a straight line to put a move on the 14 Lamborghini as they come down into the penultimate. There's sort of fussy part of the racetrack. This final chicane, really, you can be either uber aggressive and attack it, or uber smooth and take away all the instability that you introduce.
Well, they're watching on from the outside. This time, when we were racing last night under cover of darkness, the circuit had all sorts of debris off the racing line. It always was like one route around the lap. Here, it seems a bit more of an option, but you're quite right. Those final three corners, 15, 16 and 17, you can make a challenge. More often than not, you're going to get it wrong.
Looking from the rear of Alex Fontana's Lamborghini, he's looking at the Bentley, just climbing it all over it. Bentley has got faster sector time on that last lap at this part of the racetrack. That's a contribution from its good straight line speed of the Aston being slightly, I don't know whether that was the, wasn't the 159, that was the sister car.
Last night it was the two Bentleys at the top of the charts for the maximum VMAX on the Race Vision pad by AWS Graphic, but they were 256 kph last night, so Richelme and Pierre-Alexandre Jean have got potential to claw a little bit more. First to seconds coming down a little bit, John. It was 1.1 seconds. It's down to 0.9 on the start-finish line as Albert Costa just starting to shake off Ben Barnicoat, and now he can concentrate on his attack. Let's take a look at the start of the race. It was a brilliant getaway from the right-hand side of the screen from the white Mercedes. Just before the final corner, we had Costa right alongside him, and Costa really looked so he was about to lose out, but held on to that second place. Great challenge from Ben Barnicoat, but let's see what happened to the red and black Mercedes just in behind, gained several positions. There it is, middle of the screen, alongside the Bentley. There goes Gounon, outside. Was he given a little bit of nip and tuck? No, but he just simply ran out of road on the exit.
Yeah, so of course the outside of the racetrack is pretty dirty. There's been a number of support races. Here's the onboard view looking back from the Lamborghini there. You can see the Bentley side by side with the Mercedes. Mercedes gets tucked in now. Bentley cuts up the inside. So watch what happens to the Mercedes. Just gets... Was there... Yes, there was. Well, Bentley, there was a light contact. So that was really car to car, door handle to door handle.
Well, this is a fantastic seat to watch it from. Best seat in the house at the moment. Fred Vervies starting 10th on the grid is right behind Jules Gounon, who's just slipped across the nose of Bentley there, going to the outside. Two French drivers racing at home, being watched by a Belgian. How's that for love? You've got no more track, you've got gravel.
There wasn't any contact in there.
No contact.
It looked like it from the forward view, but in fact from the view from Fred Vervies' Audi, there wasn't contact. There was maybe about a couple of inches between the cars, but there wasn't any contact.
Yeah, more of a suggestion. Let's see, riding a little bit further back, starting 12th on the grid, was Johnny Adam in the Garage 59 Aston Martin. He could see the puff of dust, but he stayed on the black stuff. Now the race is settling down. The gap definitely coming down between first and second. 0.9 of a second between Engel and Costa, between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini. And though Ben Barnicoat's fallen off the tail a little bit, he's not dropping back into the grasp of last night's winner, Dries Van Toor. So, as you say, John, those four makes of cars, Mercedes, Lamborghini, McLaren and Audi, down the hill they go.
Yes, and it is Albert Costa of these four that's making marginal gains over the lead. Mercedes, Maruengel, Ben Barnicoat bounces his way again. But look at the Mercedes behind Marcelli Raffaelli tacking the curves. As pretty much, and it almost makes you feel dizzy to look at these cars, the amount of aggression that's going in, and the suspension, the shock load, and it almost makes you feel dizzy watching it.
Frankly, slightly seasick, bobbling here and there and everywhere. Brilliant camera shot there, and it just shows the competitiveness of this field. Everyone seems to be separated by about a third of a second, but interestingly, the Jota McLaren is now starting to close in on the two in front, setting what Let's just double check. Was that the fastest lap of the race? No, still with Albert Costa. But first, second and third, it's not stretching out, it's coming down, it's compressing.
Christian Engelhardt in the Porsche, honing in, goes up alongside. Does he get the pass made? He'll be happy with that.
He won't be happy with the fact he's only going up into 17th place, though. That's the problem.
Indeed, but it's better to be 17th than 18th. So progress for Christian Engelhardt. We have not seen very much of him all through the weekend.
So working very, very hard indeed. Let's see if Engelhardt can patch up with that group ahead. The next car up the track is Riachira Tomito, the number 31, Team WRT Audi. That's the one with the yellow flashes on board. But flashes of flashes are those first two cars. First three cars, Barnicoat is definitely hanging on to their coattails. Can he get a little bit closer to that sleek McLaren who get a toe up the straight? Now he's going from Chateauneuf down to the end of the lap.
I would say, in fact, in the last lap, the McLaren has actually reduced the gap between the second place Lamborghini and the McLaren. But now look at Albert Costa. I mean, he is just nibbling away, lap on lap. Again, aggression coming, and that unsettles the car. You lose all the good yards you've done just in that final sequence of corners.
And you can be sure that Mauro Engel in the race-leading Top Sport WRT Mercedes is trying to stay off the curbs. We didn't get to the foot of it last night, but a left rear wheel problem. Was that from hitting the chicanes too hard? Now, let's look at the speed through Grand Corps. This is the corner at the top of the screen before they feed into Estoril. Fastest through there, by a good margin, 2 kilometres an hour. Albert Costa, who's second from the race leader, Mauro Engel, who's first in the race, but being caught bit by bit. Jack Aitken, the Lamborghinis, look, 3 of those top 5 speeds through the corner from the Emil Frey Racing Hurricanes.
The Astons, just Johnny Adam coming down the inside, or was that Kevin Van Den going round the outside down at Adelaide? So back to this battle at the front. And Mauro Engel, Albert Costa, Ben Barnicoat, and then you see the first of the Audis, Dries van Thor, just really doing all that he can to hang it. Remember, we said it last night, that this race is not won exclusively on the racetrack. It's about strategy, and the strategy certainly played into the benefit of WRT Audi. Will it work? They're currently in 4th place. And, I mean, you've got Raffaele Marcello sort of lasering in on the back of that 4th place Audi. So nowhere for Dries van Thor to think, I've got a comfortable 4th position.
No, Dries 9/10 of a second down on Ben Barnicoat. We had that downhill shot, the rear shot, as the cars swept through the Nürburgring chicane, and you can see that McLaren is working very, very hard indeed. Ben Barnicoat pushing on extremely hard and running in very lofty position, 3rd overall.
Due to the heavy wind and the bad weather conditions, one mechanic wearing an orange armband or the car controller can help and hold the door at the pit stop.
Okay, interesting comment there, but very sensible with a fixed number of mechanics on you, and the door potentially slamming down on the driver. That's a wise precaution. And again, thinking on your feet, always a sign of good stewardship.
Yes, well, Adam Madin, race director, has made that announcement, so teams have got the ability to use that pit crew member to ensure that when the door is open, because of this wind that's blowing, one assumes that we didn't get a clear direction from which way it was coming, but it might well be that in the pit lane, that's the critical part to ensure that there is no issues with the door slamming on a driver getting out, but more likely one getting in. So, again, as you say, Bruce, thinking on your feet, or in this case, probably from his director's chair.
Indeed, the big comfy director's chair. I think they should stand, frankly, keep them on their toes. But Kelvin van Linden, he's been pushing Johnny Adam. A few moments ago, we saw the Rofco liveried Audi in front, but Johnny Adam has got back to great drivers, scrapping the sort of territory they're not really accustomed to further down the order, but doing a great job. But the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now getting closer and closer from race leader Mauro Engel in his Mercedes to Raffaele Marcello in his. Quarter speed at Imola, that's the uphill sweeper where we had the head-on shot. Well, Rick Boyka's absolutely flying there, 2 kilometres faster than the race leader, Mauro Engel, and it's looking good for Mercedes there, 1st, 2nd and 3rd.
I'm just going to say that the Mercedes through that chicane, well, it's not really a chicane, it's a quick right and left, but it's called a chicane, and it is interesting that all 3 Mercedes are topping it out. So go on, this is on to lap 8. Mauro Engel, the gap he has is just 0.8 of a second. Albert Costa's trying to get it down to half a second. The problem is he's got to be very careful he doesn't drag Ben Barnicoat and the McLaren, who's really a similar distance behind, 0.7 of a second or so, or actually half a second, just looking at the timing and scoring. So here are the lead, 3, 4, how many cars are in the lead? One's in the lead, but there are another 4 that are stacking up thinking, I want that. And Alex Fontana in 6th place also begun to catch to the tail.
But of course, with 3 classes in this race, Alex Fontana is actually a leader as well. He's 6th overall, but he's leading the Silver Cup class. In his wake, he's got Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who's just half a second down on him. Leading the Prime class comfortably at the moment is Johnny Adam. He's fighting so hard with Kelvin van der Linde. 13th, 14th places.
Look at the body language of these cars going through the Nürburgring chicane. I mean, that is more of a chicane than the Imola, but you really see the work that the car, the tyres are doing, and the quick ability to change direction. Touring cars, GT3 touring cars / race car.
Exactly so, and it is interesting. You can actually not just pick up the driving style, but also the characteristics of the various makes, and I think that McLaren looks probably the most nimble of the lot going through that chicane.
Remember, it's the only car in this race that's got a carbon fibre chassis, or they call it a monocell, so it's got a lot of rigidity in that chassis. Again, where you've got a quick change of direction, the more rigidity you have in your chassis, the quicker and more able your car is to make those very sudden, quick changes of direction.
So the top 3 covered by 1.4 seconds, and certainly I'm sensing on this lap that Ben Barnicot is getting closer, if anything. What maybe is he getting closer to Albert Costa, or is Costa falling back into his pass? Or maybe we can look at it another way. Mauro Engel just banged in a lap, 1 minute 37.8, his fastest lap, and suddenly the race leader has got a margin more than he had before, 1 second on the nose.
He gained in that last sector because he was the fastest driver of all in that final sector. So again, the sort of the seesaw effect between first and second and third. The gap was 0.8 of a second a lap ago. Now it's up to a second. Ben Barnicot's gap 3/10 or 3 and a bit tenths of a second behind second place Lamborghini. But you're getting into the aero wash from the car ahead of you. Depending on whereabouts on the racetrack, you cap it to catch up. So up the hill, out of the 180 degrees, round the right curve, then accelerating all the way up, and you get into this really, I mean, it's a very, I think from a driver's perspective, challenge but exciting and fulfilling part of the racetrack. The Imola chicane, run the curve on the inside, let it run out to the outside of the corner, then hard on the brakes, down 2 gears, into Chateau d'Eau corner, run the car wide. Mauro Engel has stretched. Look how much he's stretched on this lap. Where's that come from?
Well, he's picked up only about, well, we're dealing in tenths of a second, John, maybe only 1/10 of a second, but having had them so close, look how close it is. That fantastic scrap between Johnny Adam and the blue-white 188 Aston Martin, still resisting the South African charger, Kelvin van der Linde. If you want to pass me, take the outside line. Oh, not the inside line.
I mean, Johnny Adam was compromised there because the Audi was almost in the position. He took what he had to do, he cut across the inside of the corner. Now that will be reviewed. I suspect that will be seen as a force majeure situation, because all of a sudden he had nowhere to go. He couldn't follow the racing line because he was going to be, there would have been an incident. Certainly one car would have been heavily damaged, probably 2 cars out of the race.
Yeah, and in fact, by straight lining the turn 16-17 combination, suddenly Jim Pla is much closer to the bonnet of the Aston Martin. We're riding with the Aston Martin up the hill, the long drag to the crest of the hill there, into the Adelaide hairpin, nose to tail, nose to tail, nose to tail.
That will be being looked at by the WRT team, because they will wonder, did Adam in that one Garage 59 Aston, in doing what he did for all the right reasons, you've got to make these decisions in microseconds, but did he gain an advantage? And if he was able to pass the car directly up the roof, then they would have a right to say that was an unfair advantage.
Well, hasn't managed to make the move stick. Up front, it's still by 0.876 of a second. Mauro Engel leading from Albert Costa. Ben Barnicot is still there, 3rd place in his McLaren, just another half second in arrears. So no real change. We're dealing in small fractions of a second. Still needing a, well, let's ride for a second with Jules Gounon down in 18th position, all over the tail of the Dynamic Motorsport Porsche of Christian Engelhardt. And the problem there for Gounon, he started much further up the grid in 8th overall. He'll hand over at some point to Petru Umbrarescu, but right now he's not where he should be. Had that challenge with Pierre-Alexandre Jean 2 corners into the race, got edged out wide, and it really cost him so dear.
Yeah, I mean, it just illustrates on that opening sequence of 2 corners that allowing your car to drift, but he was being squeezed by the Bentley, but there wasn't any contact. The consequence was that this car, this driver, lost out at this part of the racetrack, a little bit further at the edge of the corner.
So talking of going out wide, and unfortunately not handsome, is Raffaele Marcello, but suddenly Mauro Engel has lost a bit of ground, and Albert Costa, the Spanish charger, right onto his tail now. I think we've got the top 3 cars covered by just 1 second as they flash downhill through the Nürburgring chicane. That looks about right. And the 5th car in the pack, Raffaele Marcello, that's the Mercedes that's just been warned for 3 track offence.
Yes, now we have heard the warning. The team will have been given the warning. They will have to communicate that to Raffaele Marcello. And it's very difficult when you're on a charge, as Raffaele is, to now rein in that enthusiasm for nothing, no other way to describe it. So he's going to have to be careful. It may have been on the exit of Estoril, where a lot of cars have been using the green bit on the outside of these red and white curbs to ease the exit of Estoril. If you're doing it too much and doing it too regularly, and there are other parts of the racetrack likewise where you can abuse track limits. So the call has now come out. Raffaele Marcello, you're under orders, be careful.
And if he's been warned 3 times, others would have been warned as well. Exit of the final corner, you can see them at the top of the screen, all wheels off the circuit pretty much out of turn 17. Another one is Chateau d'Eau. A lot of the drivers, notably Mauro Engel, who always likes a smooth line, doesn't like to swing the car around. He's wide there every single lap, but just has a tiny kiss of rubber on the inside of the circuit.
So in the meantime, purple's coming up for Mauro Engel in the final sector in that last lap. Purple in the middle sector for Ben Barnacle in the McLaren on that last lap. And Jules Gounon, look at the face, the concentration. There'll be great disappointment indeed, knowing that that squeeze ultimately led to him losing a whole bunch of ground. And he's now down in 17th place. And I mean, he's gotten past Christian Engelhardt in the Porsche, so he's made 1 car progress, but there's an awful lot more that is left to do, and having had that setback,
Warning flag to
almost
car
impossible.
89, track limits 3 times in turn 6.
Oh, turn 6, that's the little kick before you get down to the Nürburgring, the sweepers, but that's 2 of the 3 ASB Mercedes, so for Jerome Policon, he better get the team trumpet out and warn his drivers.
I don't know, I've never seen a track limit abuse flagged up for that part of the racetrack, because turn 6 really isn't a corner. It's more or less a straight line for these cars, but nevertheless under observation he's been seen. And there is the Mercedes just coming now out of Chateau d'Eau.
Which car is in 3rd place in the race? The McLaren Jota Sport. Ben Barnacle set the fastest lap of all last time around, 1 minute 37.5 seconds. That was the time before, actually just completed another lap. So far from being disgraced in this company, he's starting to edge closer. Top 3 cars still covered by about 1.4 seconds. It goes one way, swings back the other.
So we got Jack Aiken in the middle of this Mercedes-Benz sandwich, and Jimmy Pla is the car that's following the 7. Is Yusuf Pukaka. So on to the long, well, relatively speaking, long Gulf Straight. Jack Aiken lining up. Can he get a move done? He's certainly having to think about it. The defence has come from the Mercedes, so that precludes the undercut as possible. Now you're coming out of Adelaide. Here is what I would call turn 6. Is that where Jules Gounon has been guilty of 3 offences?
I would have thought more likely it's the corner we're looking at now.
This is where I think the offences...
We'll call this 6 and 7, the Nürburgring downhill chicane. It was interesting there. Buhaka absolutely made it plain he was going to have the inside line into Adelaide, and whatever drag was being achieved behind him, he wasn't going to leave the door open. And so for Jack Aiken, he's got to think again. He's thinking now. So Yusuf Pohaka still pushing on in 10th place. Plenty of company. Jack Aiken, Jim Pla in behind, and just a little bit further back, Johnny Adam has lost position in the last half lap because Kelvin van der Linde has finally got the 30 Audi in front of him. 14th and 13th swap around.
This little battle is getting very tasty indeed. Jack Aiken, who's come from single-seater racing, that's been his life and his career, is now in a real battle between the 2 Mercedes. Jimmy Pla running, and that is a Silver Cup car, pro car for Jack Aiken. A Silver Cup car directly ahead. Yusuf Pukaka. So, he's got power. Has he made them?
Car 89 must give back one position. Car 89 must give back one position.
So that's Jules Gounon has got the warning. He's got to give a position back. So Christian Engelhardt in the Porsche, he hunted him down lap after lap. Neither of them want to be fighting over 17th and 18th positions, but the swap will come.
And look at this. Ben Barnicoat all over. I mean, he couldn't get any closer to the back of Albert Costa and the Lamborghini. So all of a sudden, you know, where's this pace disappeared from the Lamborghini? To some degree, it's all by a tiny margin. And where's it come from Ben Barnicoat? And look, right, Dries Van Thor and Raffaele Marcello are all again marching forward. Look, Barnicoat makes a move up the long way around. He's got it done. And Costa's got a problem. He's got a left rear puncture, I think. That's where he has come unstuck, and he's now caught on the racetrack on the inside. He can't get the car moved to safety. He has to wait for the entire field to go through. So what happened? And I think it's a left rear puncture. We saw the car just rotate. It's either that or it's fluid.
Now, was the contact when they went down the hill? Is it's already punctured yet?
Oh, it's gone.
The ease with it, she went around. Oh, it's on the rim.
Yeah, it's on the rim, yes. So that happened somewhere prior to getting to this part of the racetrack. More than likely, it might have happened down at Adelaide Hampton.
Yeah, well, I wondered if there'd been contact when they got down there, because the McLaren, remember, it was really squirrely under braking for that tight hairpin. Up the hill they came, and you can imagine a bit of tyre decompression. But anyhow, up into second place goes the McLaren. But with all of that, it was advantage for Mauro Engel. 2 seconds flat in the clear.
Now, Ben Barnicoat has broken free, or he's been allowed to break free. Pit stop window will open in a minute and a half, just under that. There's a bit of body work there on the exit of Adelaide. Now, there's that going on to board with Alex Fontana.
Well, he's leading the Silver Cup class, but he's got Pierre-Alexandre Jean just under 2 seconds down. But it's been a good run, at least for his now top Lamborghini in the race. Of course, we lost the one from second place to Albert Costa, picking up the puncture and having the spin. Don't know where he came through at the end of that lap, but he lost so many positions waiting to rejoin. And of course, he then had to report to the pits for more rubber.
Now, there's the problem, and for Albert Costa, now whether that was cause or effect, the outcome is he's got a left rear tyre that has most likely been cut down. Whether it was caused by aggression with running curbs, whether it was debris in the racetrack, whether there was contact. I didn't see contact between the McLaren and the Lamborghini. Pit stop window yet not open. We have another half a minute to go. So he's got to come in, change that left rear tyre, go back out again. And then we'll have to come back in very shortly to do the driver change and whatever else they do.
Had that happened a lap later, it would have hurt his race a lot. He'd have been outside the top 10, maybe outside the top 20, but now the fact he's got to make a second pit stop because the pit stop window wasn't open. It will be when it says 35 minutes at the top of the screen. So a massive blow. There he is alongside one of the Citroën Fry racing cars, but so much track lost.
And again, just to illustrate just how strong these Lamborghinis have been here this weekend, it's the number
Incident
114,
involving
Jack
car
Aiken.
163, no further inquiry.
Okay, that's the incident I was just suggesting may need investigation, because was there a touch with Barnicoat? We didn't see it down at the 180 corner at the bottom of the hill, but certainly there is the McLaren, no damage on that, the damage to the 163. But your point there is suddenly Jack Aiken just put in the fastest lap of the race in 9th position.
Yeah, they had fastest sector time in sector 3 of everybody, and that was on lap 16. We're on lap 17 now. So the pit stop window is open for those that want to take advantage. Now, last night we saw the 32 Audi stay out longer than others, and that did actually give them an advantage.
Jota Sport getting ready, but of course when Charles Viert stayed out longer in the 32 Audi, he was already leading the race, and then it was as though all other cars disappeared. It was dark last night, particularly at the far side of Magny Cours, but he was on his own as all those behind him came in 1-2 laps earlier and then came back out, and Dries Van Thor did the rest.
Jota looked like they're preparing the pit lane to bring the McLaren in, but if I was in their position, I would keep Ben Barnicoat behind the wheel as long as possible and then come in, make the transition, let Oliver Wilkinson get behind the wheel. Barnicoat is doing a great job here right now, running in second place, 1.2 seconds behind so far. There we have the supported Jack Aiken car in.
Okay, for a long time we've been talking in intervals about 1.2 seconds, but the point is he took 0.6 of a second as good as out of the race leading Mauro Engel.
That's right, Alex Fontana in. I just saw that one, I didn't see the... So, pit lane beginning. Attempt to racing in likewise.
Yeah, that's Tommaso Mosca handing over to Matteo Druni. busy times for them, but it's not been their dream meeting. They showed well last night at Tempter Racing, but right now the sun isn't shining on their particular pit. So, sorry, Drudy out, Mosca in.
Yeah,
the wrong way around. Again, you can see the flags whipping around in the wind. Out they come, but the race leader, Maro Engel,
and that's
being caught little bit by little bit. The first sector, a little incremental gain for Ben Barnicoat. Barnicoat in the McLaren, and a little bit more in the second one. He's going to gain 0.2 of a second on this lap. Let's see what he can do in the final sector. This is the corner where he took second place as Albert Costa, with that punctured left rear wheel, went for a spin. Now he's closing in yet more on Maro Engel.
So there, we've had that driver change. Arthur Rouget behind the wheel, having Alex Fontana do the first stint. So very quickly up to speed, as you have to be. There's no such thing as a gentle outlap to get an entire temperature. Look at this battle coming down the hill. The Aston and the Audi side by side. Race leader is in. Lucas Stoltz takes over.
Wow, Maro Engel fired out of the car almost as though from a cannon, and then Lucas Stoltz leading in and behind, almost like overtaking through the final corner. The Aston Martin, that's the place being handed back. And more. So it looks like Aston Martin went up a position there, but out front it's not still Maro Engel. Of course, he's handed over to Stoltz. It's now Ben Barnicoat. What can he do lap time wise?
On board the Rouget, coming down the hill, coming up to completion of his out lap. There is the race leader, or was as he came into the pit stop. Lucas Stoltz has taken over Ben Barnicoat, and the Toyota McLaren is our race leader. And Dries van Thor was just about half a second or so behind. So pit in time 43.4 seconds.
Now that pit stop time, 43.4 seconds. It looked efficient, and we gathered about 7 seconds gained over some of the rivals in the pit stop there for TopSport WRT. We haven't seen what Jota can do. Also, John, remember, before the white Mercedes came in from the lead of the race, that lead came down to almost precisely 1 second. Let's see what it is when Ben Barnicoat, who will stay out as long as he possibly can before handing over to his teammates, comes in. Then Ollie Wilkinson will get his shot through to the end of this 1 hour race.
But that looks to be a possibly race-winning driver change pit stop by the TopSport team, as we go back to Jules Gounon running behind the Aston.
Those
the Porsche,
well, they look quite similar, white and blue Garage 59 colours.
Yes.
I got caught out as well, so that makes more sense. Still Christian Engelhardt then, with Jules Gounon tucked in behind after the place change. Now he's trying to get it back all over again. It's been a messy race, unfortunately, for Gounon. Not necessarily of his making, after he was sort of edged towards the outside of the circuit and off the racing line on the first lap.
So Fred Verviche has come in the 26, and that will go to Aurelien Panis. So still McLaren, and I think rightly, staying out until the last minute to hand over to Oliver Wilkinson.
And also not just still McLaren, it's the fact that the fastest first sector achieved by that McLaren was on this lap by Ben Barnicoat. He's 1.8 seconds clear of Dries van Tor. Don't forget Van Tor in that number 32 Audi was one of the 2 race winners last night, sharing as ever with Charles Weerts. So this is a great run for Jota, for McLaren and Ben Barnicoat. And his teammate Ollie Wilkinson, this will be his Sprint Cup debut. No pressure at all for Ollie Wilkinson. And second net at the moment is car number 26, Aurelien Panis. It still 017 on the windscreen, but those is up as those ahead of him come into the pits.
So there is the 14, and that is not well with Arthur Rouget. There is, no, it stays out again, and the right thing, and likewise WRT with Dries van Thor. They know that when they make their pit stop, Charles Weerts is probably going to be the stronger of the two. Oliver Wilkinson, still a little bit less experienced than the Audi pairing.
Well, exactly so, John. And just notice on that lap, Dries van Tor in second place took a quarter of a second out of the race-leading McLaren. And these fractions could be very important indeed. So for Ollie Wilkinson, getting his focus in the pit lane, his time will come. For Charles Weerts, he knows what it's like to win races. He did it last night, I seem to remember. So he'll be waiting with a different weight on his shoulders in the WRT pit. Barnicoat presses on, and in the first part of this lap, Dries van Tor's taken another tenth of a second out of the race lead. It's down, getting pretty close to 1.5 seconds now.
They're going to be close to coming in this time. Don't know if they can make another lap. Lap time is about 90 and a bit seconds.
Well, very, very tight coming out of the pits. Was that a change of positions? The Santaloc Audi ahead of the orange and blue Rothko Racing Audi from Team WRT. Kelvin van der Linde's handed over to young Benjamin Goethe. Now they've got a fight on their hands. They're right with one of the Lamborghinis there as well. So you get this shuffling of the pack. We're still looking. The pit window's still open for a bit longer. When is Ben Barnicoat going to come in? This time or the next?
No, because there is Oliver Wilkinson. So they won't have time to do another lap. And right time, so they'll come in, as will undoubtedly the 32 Audi. Into the pit lane comes Ben Barnicoat. Great stint by the British driver, brings it on. Audi stays on. Wow.
Well, he's gone around. Clear track for him, but he's got to dive into the pits next time around, or he'll have blown it. There's a 10-minute pit window with 8 of them have elapsed. Ollie Wilkinson on board. Maybe the McLaren 2 could have done one further lap, but maybe not wanting to drop the ball by staying out too long. They've been a little bit cautious.
I think that on balance that was a good call by the McLaren team, but WRT we know are so adept. As we go back to the number 6 Mercedes with Lucas Stolz behind the wheel. So door closed, get the car rolling. Oliver Wilkinson got the car rolling down. There is the Mercedes now, which will in effect, when this all washes through, take over the lead.
Well, just remember what a slick pit stop that was from Top Sport WRT. We heard a voice in our ear saying it was about 7 seconds quicker than any of the other arrivals. This was 44.0, so only 0.6 of a second. But the interesting thing there is that Lucas Stolz must be flying since he's taken the car over. The gap between these cars, we agreed, about 1 second before the pit stops. That, as we can see, up the Adelaide hairpin is far more than 1 second right now.
It's certainly about the best part of just under 5 seconds as we have a look. And, well, I think you can see the look on the face, look at the screen. Where's our car? Who's doing what? There is the car. So Oliver Wilson, I mean, literally stone cold in the pit lane. He didn't do qualifying. That was done by Ben Barnicoat. So the last time he drove this car was in night time. And you know, for many of the drivers that are now taking over, this is their first experience with their car in entirely different circumstances. Track Albert Costa comes in as well. What a disappointment for him. There is what was the race leader momentarily, and now Charles Vance will take over. Did a brilliant job last night. Dries van Thor hops out, and WRT go to work. Interested to see what that in-out time in totality is, because here is the Mercedes.
Full course yellow in 20 seconds.
Right.
Full course yellow in 10 seconds.
Absolutely vital that the 32 Audi, if he wants to win this race, gets out of the pits before the full course yellow, and just manages that.
I mean, wow. I tell you what, the Talk Sport team and WRT must have been sweating buckets. The thought, is this going to work for us or work against us? It certainly has favoured. Well, there we go. There is Benjamin Goethe, has gone off in the Rothko WRT Audi, and that's damage to the tyre bales. Just trying to get a view as to which part is that coming.
I think it's Estoril, is it not? I think he's come through Grand Corps, but that looks like Estoril. Let's have a little look-see.
Oh, that's why, was it? Yes. No, that's into Nürburgring. So that's into the 180 degree.
180 down the bottom of the hill.
And that's the corner on the inside of the circuit. So he got it wrong before he even got into the corner, and then went across the gravel bed and eventually ended up hitting the tyre bale. So that car will have to be removed, but more critically, the tyre bale will have to be put back into place. So 23 minutes of this race remaining. You can see the corner workers there doing their best as quickly as possible. It's the binding that goes in front of all that's got to be reattached. So that could take a few minutes just to make sure that it is securely attached. In the meantime, well, forget about the drivers drawing breath. What about the commentators?
Yeah. Well, quite something already, just in case, with so much happening in this race. The 163 Lamborghini was looking really good. Both John and I fancied that with its driver pairing for this weekend, with Albert Costa starting handing to Ricardo Feller, but unfortunately they'd already had a puncture out of second place. But let's find out what's happening down in the pits, because Ben Barnicoat was a star in the early part of the race. He came in from second. He's with Gemma.
Ben, you were absolutely flying in that stint there.
Yeah, it was great, really. Had a good start. I nearly got Costa on the first lap, and then he put me on the grass, which I think was a bit naughty of him, but, you know, I managed to survive it, which was the main thing. And then, yeah, it was difficult. We were struggling a little bit in the dirty air, so it was kind of like I'd get a bit of a gap, pushing my own clean air, catch them back up. As soon as I think Albert had an issue. I'm not sure, he made a mistake, and then, you know, he was gone. I didn't see him after that. So, yeah, once I got past him, was just reeling in Maro, you know, pushed in hard. The tyres were in a pretty difficult state, but yeah, the pace was great. The car was just, yeah, it's mine and Ollie's first time here. We've just been chipping away all weekend, and, you know, I'm really impressed with the car's performance, the team's performance, and yeah, my own performance today. Pit stop wasn't 100%. Me and Ollie just had a couple of little issues, so it's annoying we dropped back, but, you know, let's see where we end up.
What were those issues?
Just, you know, I think a little bit of pressure. Didn't quite get one of the belts plugged in properly, so just little things really. Lost us a second or two, but yeah, we got it all right before he went, which is the main thing.
And for Ollie, of course, it's his debut in the sprint series. How's he going to go?
Yeah, it's a big step for him, but he's doing well. Just learning every time we go out, so I'm really happy with him, and just see how he goes now. The pressure's on.
Thank you.
I love that smile. Even behind the mask, you can see Ben Barnicoat. He's done his bit and did it very, very well indeed. But he's got quite a mentoring role there with Ollie, as Ollie's become a works driver for the first time. A few years ago, he was just an AM driver starting his way. Now, full course yellow, overtaking, that's a new word, 163. I'm afraid they've blotted their copybook already.
Ricardo, what are you doing? That is a no-no, and you should have known that as well.
Oh, well, nice one there, John. Not nice one there, unfortunately, Ricardo. And, of course, when it's full course yellow, there shall be no overtaking. Now we're riding on board, not with Jules Gounon, but with the Romanian racer, Petru Umbrarescu. But, of course, at almost snail's pace.
Car 163 must give back one position.
Well, absolutely fair, and caught by the cameras.
Yeah,
bang to rights.
I think, in fairness, giving that position back that's the big result that car's had today, and they've had difficulties because obviously when the car had the car tyre go down, that really spoiled that potential. So there is the safety car has been deployed, and of course it's got to catch up now. Two cars directly ahead, and the white one is effectively our race leader.
Yeah, that's Lucas Stoltz, and in behind he's got Timo Boguslawski, last year's outright champion. Timo, the Russian racer this year, wants to add the Sprint Cup title as well. And sharing with Raffaele Marcello, he has a very good class, but chance of doing that. But for the Mercedes, they've got the top two position. It hasn't all looked Mercedes this weekend. I know they took pole, but in the race last night, they were not the cars to have.
But ASP have done a great job to turn that car around to get ahead of the 32 Audi. We didn't pick that up during the pit stops because that all came just at the point when the track was about to go, well, the pit lane closed, as we watched Charles Vance in the 32 Audi sitting there thinking, I thought he was going to have a battle with the number 6 Mercedes. Now we're going to have a battle with the 88 and the 6.
Well, look, a big gap behind Charles Vance there. Where is the next car? It should be, I think, Ollie Wilkinson. Yes, it is. There's the McLaren. And there, take a couple of seconds. Bring that forward. So full course yellow turns into safety car procedure, and that means, of course, the field gets compressed. So the time lost in the slightly fumbled driver change from Ben Barnicoat to Ollie Wilkinson, that's been negated. Now, for Wilkinson, this is his chance to close in on the tail of Charles Vance.
And just thinking about Ben Barnicoat's comments about the pit stop, you know, it's an illustration of what being a competitor is all about. He's talking about half a second or a fraction of a second in a pit stop. And I noticed one of the guys coming round to the right rear, his foot slipped momentarily. Just a minor little hiccup in the pit. That in itself probably would account for a couple of tenths of a second. And all those couple of tenths here and a tenth there, that's what adds up. And it's all about practice makes perfect. That's what the majority of these teams do when they're not at the racetrack, is they're practicing their pit stops.
Time and time again, and you know what? Pressure builds pressure. If you make a slight fumble, you're worried for the rest of that sequence of the pit stop that you're going to make another one. You've got to have a clear mind, and that, as you say, John, comes from experience. Practice, practice, practice. So this field of 27 cars, we lost Benjamin Goethe, we still have 26 cars, but one that should be challenging at the front end is running in that 26th position. It's the 163 Lamborghini Riccardo Fellow, the driver who just, well, that was a quick pit stop, 39 seconds. Raffaele Marcello to Timo Bogoslawski, that's about 5 seconds quicker than the best of the rest. No wonder they're placed so well. That's how they got up into second place.
We didn't see it at the time, but great stop by AWS to get the car. So watch the...
So coming out of the pits, it's the very, very tight, and the 88 has made that pass, came in behind, some seconds behind the 32 Audi, is now running in front. So maybe Jerome Policon will be lining up the drinks for the crew. And let's go down and hear from the TalkSport WE RT camp from our early leader, Mauro Engel.
Mauro, you made a fantastic start, pushed really hard in that stint and pulled out a nice gap.
Yeah, it was tougher than I would have liked. They were quick, the guys behind, and I was struggling a little bit with the balance, but it was a smooth stint, and Luca did an awesome job in his first few laps. Yeah, setting really fast lap times, and now we're in the lead, so hopefully he can bring it home.
Did Albert's puncture give you a little bit of a pause to take the pressure off?
Yeah, it did give us some breathing space, but yeah, conditions today, you know, with the wind are really, really tough, so it's been a tough fight, I think, for all of the drivers out there.
That wind is really, really strong. It's sort of pushing you down the start-finish straight, but causing you problems elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, it's hitting you side on in turn 3, it's from behind in turn 8, so it's really unpredictable as well because it's quite gusty, so you keep getting snaps in the car and you need to react, but yeah, so far so good.
Now we just have to see what happens under the restart.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, there was proof if ever you needed, as the marshal was waving the yellow flag, almost needed to be secured themselves as they stood on the gantry.
Well, you might call that the most modern design of kite, because the marshal there could almost be, I mean, it was like one of those kites you go surfing with. Yeah. Just suddenly, where is it? Where's the marshal gone? Yes. 100 feet over there, sorry, 33 metres over there.
In the middle of the neighbouring farm. Right, the job for all these drivers is to close up, close up, close up. Safety car in at the end of this lap. And let's just highlight, top runner in the Silver Cup class is the 87 ACA ASP Mercedes, started by Jim Pla, now Konstantin Tereshchenko. The top runner in Pro-Am is Miguel Ramos. So the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini has just upped and upped and upped. And unfortunately for Garage 59, Alexander West is back in 20th, so he's 5 positions further back. Anyhow, yellow flag still being waved. It's about to come back in. It'll be full racing.
Everybody's got to be aware when the safety car is about to come in, they need to close the gap to the car directly ahead of them. Oliver Wilkinson there in 4th place. He needs to get on to the rear wing. But as we have heard from the drivers, the wind is a factor. Now, obviously, a mega downforce single-seater with critical aero is more affected than a GT car, which is fundamentally a road-going car adapted to motor racing, but it still has its effect. So you get very close, and as the aero wash from the car you're following, apart from whatever the wind around the racetrack is doing, so it is producing issues for everybody in the field. Look, Charles Fetch, look, can't get much closer to the back of Timo Bogoslawski.
Safety car, lights off.
So I'm just watching the driver who's going to start this group in 7th place to restart. Ulysses de Power, single-seater racer. Just talking about this, shifting across the GT races. He's also got a prototype program lined up for this year. Can he get picked off by those around him? Will he gain places? But starts, backs it up, and then floors it. Absolute classic restart technique, and he's used it to make the break ahead of Timo Bogoslawski. Nicely done.
Absolutely. He did it all for himself. He did the right thing. He backed everybody out when they thought he was going to go off the throttle. He's back on the throttle. He gains maybe half a second in the process, and then everybody else is playing catch-up as they come through Grand Curve, now into Estoril. Tires, of course, will have dropped down fractionally in temperature. Maybe the pressure's gone down fractionally as well. So everybody's got to be a little thoughtful coming through Grand Curve at race speeds once again.
Well, that was very, very clever work indeed. And of course, when he gets to the top of the hill, he just has that 2-car length advantage that works very well for him. Ulysses de Power, I said watch out for him, and unfortunately, he's got monstered. The Bentley's just lost a position there. He was just outside Aurélien Panis. Oh, well, you can't all get it right. That's one of the two Attempto Racing Lamborghinis. That was Alex Acker, who's just taken that one over and put it off at Grand Corps.
I tell you what, an interesting line, because the speed he cut across the gravel trap, if he got back on the racetrack, he could have had fastest lap.
Could have had the race lead if he kept going straight on. But Alex Acker just taken over the 66 Attempto Racing Audi. But what a restart from Lucas Stoltz. He's stretching his way clear now of, he's got 1.3 seconds over Timo Bogoslawski. Charles Wirtz holding on to that third place. Ollie Wilkinson impressing among this company, holds down fourth in the McLaren. He's got Konstantin Tereshchenko a little bit further back.
So the Bentley got past the Audi. Aurelien Panis was in sixth place at the restart. Now look at the 14 trying to move up onto the back of. Now, sometimes the Bentley and the Lamborghini. So we're saying that Ulysses Dupau got the move done. As we go back to the 26, which is now in seventh place, Aurelien Panis, and he's got directly behind him Arthur Rouget in the 14th. So an interesting battle between the Audi and the Lamborghini to see who's got the benefit. The pace that the Lamborghinis have had this weekend has been very strong, so keep an eye on Rouget.
Absolutely so. So up the hill we go to the Adelaide hairpin. Moose, God, certainly very, very feisty performance from Ulysses Dupau there in the Bentley. I thought he would lose out on the restart in his first run in the GT3 car. Not only has he gained position, he's trying to pick off another one there. Konstantin Tereshchenko is his next target. There's the 107 Bentley right on the tail of the car that's leading the Silver Cup class. His class rival, Konstantin Tereshchenko, holds down fifth, but what a scrap from the Silver class runners.
Yeah, the Bentley, remember, has got that straight line speed advantage at the end of the Gulf Straight, and that's something that just having that little bit of armour in your hands gives you an awful lot of assets.
I must say, Lucas Stoltz, what an impressive restart, but also, as picked up by Mauro Engel during the interview, what an impressive couple of laps when he came out of the pits. The tyres were cold, he was straight on it, and now, the end of last lap, he was 1.5 seconds clear. At the end of this lap, I think it's going to be 2. He's decided, I've got to make a break. Look, only 11 minutes remaining in this race. He's just got to cane those tyres, and he's doing that with great style.
Car off at the top of Chateau d'Eau. Just there it is, making its way through the. I'm not sure on the it's not.
It's Razvan, sorry, it's Petro Umbarescu. Razvan is his middle name, but that was off on the opening lap with Junior, and then unfortunately
he's got a problem.
Puncture 2, he's shedding bits of the wheel arch liner as well. So out of the race for Umbarescu.
Was that again overuse of curbs? Was it? Oh, and the Aston, the 159 now, did those two cars somewhere? That's where about. That's coming up into Chateau d'Eau. So maybe the Mercedes and the Aston got together.
Full course yellow in 20 seconds.
Well, there we go, it was indeed. So the two cars got together on their
course yellow
into Chateau d'Eau.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow now.
Well, suddenly the race getting compressed all over again, and Thomas Tuchel part of that contact up at Chateau d'Eau. So good news indeed for Lucas Stoltz. We've got 10 minutes precisely remaining until the checkered flag can be unfurled and waved. But for those that had a good restart, they're going to try and do it all over again. Most notably Ulysses Dupau in the 107 CMR Bentley. Here are our first three cars with that sensible lead. Lucas Stoltz 2.4 seconds clear last time around, but now we're almost walking pace. There's Timo Bogoslawski in second place. Then comes Charles Wirtz. He took a victory last night with Dries Van Tor. Well, he's got very little time to try and do anything about it since then. Then comes the McLaren, still in fourth place, Ollie Wilkinson, Konstantin Tereshchenko, and he's being hunted by the car in sixth place. The other car challenging in the Silver Cup class, Ulysses Dupau's Bentley.
Well, I mean, you're looking at the McLaren, you think, I mean, why is everybody ganging up on the McLaren? It looks like Oliver Wilkinson is going to be bullied by the school gang.
It does. They're going to have his bag of sweets within the next couple of minutes, one feels. But there is the stricken Mercedes at the side of the circuit, puncture after the contact there. And now taking a look. Right. 87 flashes past the McLaren. So drivers getting a little bit over enthusiastic, and that was Konstantin Tereshchenko, the Silver Cup leader, and the place had to be handed back. Suddenly for Ollie Wilkinson, must be thinking, what's going on behind me, guys?
I mean, forget about Ollie Wilkinson. What about I mean, everybody would think, what does Konstantin Tereshchenko think he's doing? We've been under a full course yellow for over a lap. Now, I know what he was doing. He thought he could... I don't know what he was thinking.
He was anticipating his anticipation, I think. He got ahead of himself, in other words. But it's certainly scary, because if you're knocked out of the race by someone doing something like that when you don't expect it behind a full course yellow, of course they'll get punished, but your race is wrecked.
That's the downside, and that's where these kind of unnecessary incidents, sometimes do require some degree of punishment. Nothing wrong with a bit of punishment.
Okay, well, for the naughty,
there's the Aston.
There is the step.
So that's being safely removed. I wonder whether the Mercedes, we see the contact here again. So innocent victim and culprit, one might assume from that image. We didn't get the beginning of it. Here we go.
It's going to be contact. Let's feel.
Oh, you heard it. Oh, you heard it here.
That was just straight up the derriere, as we call it in this part of the world, there for Ravzan Umbarescu. At least he's now got the proof. It wasn't him. It was just his car being sorted.
No, he reversed into the Aston Martin. Get it right. The Aston did not hit the Mercedes. The Mercedes reversed into the Aston. That's the view. Both drivers, they'll have two diametrically different views.
Of course. And with the racing this close, it had just been released from the first full course yellow. Bit of debris in the track there. The drivers that have seen that last time around, will they remember it next time around?
Well, it's only been there for half the race, Bruce, so they must be aware of it being there. But look, I mean, poor Ollie Wilkinson and the gang of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 schoolyard memories.
Well, Ollie Wilkinson's going to have to pray this full course yellow lasts until the checkered flag comes out. Then he won't have to weather the assault. But let's just run down the order. Lucas Stoltz leading Timo Bogoslawski in a Mercedes 1-2. His lead 4.4 seconds. Surely that is enough for WRT. Talksport WRT to make up for last night's retirement. Third place, Charles Wirtz, though.
Remember, we will get a safety car following full course yellow. So the entire field, the gap that you see third to fourth, that will run down, close up as well.
Safety car procedure.
We saw how clever Mauro Engel was in being able to use that, and likewise we saw with Lucas Stoltz. So the field will now close up, and close up as quickly as possible with 6 minutes remaining.
Now, one just little thought went through my mind. Wilkinson was sitting there in fourth place with all the other cars immediately behind him. He was getting air in his radiators, they weren't, so might not help their temperatures at all, but not too hot here at Magny Cours. Should be fine.
And I mean, oh dear me, get on the brakes quickly. I mean, they're running at a low pace, so there's not a lot of temperature going into the engine, the gearbox, or in some cases, and the turbos in these cars. Lucas Stoltz has got control. Timo Bogoslawski behind him. Charles Wirtz, Oliver Wilkinson.
Just taking a look at the graphic coming up, and it's still the Bentley's fastest to the top of the hill, the VMAX top speed. And that's
safety car in this lap. Safety car in
but
this
it's still
lap.
the Bentley's, it doesn't matter. So, safety car in this lap. Nice little touch from the pit lane. Gemma Scott said she's actually being pushed back by the wind as she runs up the pit lane. That's how gusty it is. But for these drivers, they've got 5 minutes remaining. Not all of those will be full racing laps, because, of course, it's only when the safety car pulls in at the end of this lap that we can take this race through to conclusion at full racing speed. So it's eyes on the front, and out front it's Lucas Stoltz. Will he do it all over again? Or Timo Bogoslawski in second place? Can he make a better run through 16 and 17 and take a charge down to Cours?
One assumes there's going to be 2 racing laps from the point when the safety car pulls off and the lead car goes across start-finish line. So there's still another, just down at the Adelaide hairpin, so another 45 or so seconds maybe before they get up to start-finish line. So yes, I reckon it's going to be 2 racing laps, and that will be checkered flag.
I think that's decent maths there, John. So who is going to start making the moves? Just remember the order before the restart. It's Lucas Stoltz, Timo Bogoslawski, Charles Wirtz and Ollie Wilkinson. 2 Mercedes, an Audi and a McLaren in the top 4 positions at fastest speeds through the Imola corner. Well, it's the race leader, and by a decent 2 kilometres an hour. So Talksport WRT have got the car beneath them today. Could have had a top 4 result last night, but unfortunately that left rear wheel problem certainly cost them as they pulled to the side of the circuit.
Lights off.
So grab your seatbelts, because this is going to be a stormy trip, and it is wind blowing. I mean, literally, our pit lane reporter, Gemma Scott, she had to get the air brakes out as well as the whatever else you had to stop herself being blown down the pit lane.
Last time around, when we had the last time we had a safety car restart, absolutely classic.
Green flag.
He was back it up and go for it, but this time he went out of turn 15, laissez-passer. So Stoltz had a bit of variety, and the outcome is exactly the same. He's dropped Timo Bogoslawski off his tail. Just looking down the order, still in the Pro-Am class, it's still Barwell Motorsports, so Miguel Ramos hanging on to the lead in that. Valentin Pierberg just 2 car lengths behind him. Out front, though, Stoltz has done the job from the second he got into the car. After his pit stops, very quick on his outlaps. Now the battle for second place is the one that's really going to count, because look, right in behind Timo Bogoslawski, taking all his slipstream, and a double slipstream further back. We've got to change of place to Bentley. Ulysses de Pauw almost got up into 5th ahead of Konstantin Tereshchenko. He's impressed. He's very feisty.
Absolutely. I mean, the Bentley has been monstering everybody down the straight. Looking on board from Aurelia Panis. Again, Charles Vance looking for a way into the Nürburgring chicane. Difficult place to find a way through. I remember Lewis Hamilton doing it once. Had to shut my eyes, and both cars did come out the other side, but into the 180-degree.
Well, one of the Santalok Audi's shortcutting the chicane there. That will have to be observed. But it's Aurelien Panis right under the rear wing of Ulysses de Pauw. The McLaren got very close a few corners ago to Dries van Tor, but now has dropped back slightly in 4th place. Will there be a podium for McLaren? Almost certainly going to be a Mercedes on the top step. It's a question of which. We'd say Stoltz has done the job.
And Aurelien Panis almost getting on terms with the Bentley. And the run down, you can see the 14 Lamborghini and the 26 as they come down. 14 Arthur Rouget, Panis and the 26. This is going to be, well, they might just actually get another lap, because 143.
Well, they should do, unless he can't back off enough.
Off the track.
Oh dear, that was Oscar Tunjo off the side of the circuit. That's the second of the Top Sport WRT cars, the one not running in the senior class, running in the Silver Cup class for the younger drivers, out of the race. Didn't see why that fell. Almost no time to check.
Yes.
1 and a bit minutes remain.
I think that's down at the 180-degree corner in the infield of the racetrack. So comfortable lead for Lucas Stoltz. Charles Vance looking to find a way around. The Mercedes can't get it done. Again, the Bentley coming down the outside to try and make way. Arthur Rouget is shutting the gap, basically, but the Bentley's got good speed. Look at the acceleration, and of course it's a physically large car, just out-dragged Rouget down to the Nürburgring chicane.
No wonder the Bentleys are so popular. They look different, they sound different, they just have this solidity, and certainly can be quite imposing when you're side by side. You're sitting that little bit lower in the Lamborghini.
Know that feeling.
But Stoltz and Engel, they're surely going to be taking victory in this race. The car out front with possibly one more lap beyond this one, but the gap was 2.4 seconds and nobody to play with, because Timo Bogoslawski is looking at his mirrors more than through his windscreen. Being pushed very, very hard indeed towards the end of this race. 32 started so well in this race by Dries van Tor, and Charles Weerts taking it through to the finish. What can he do?
So it's not all over yet. The cars are going to go on to a final lap. Crosses the line with 6 seconds to go. Well, that's as close as you can get, but a comfortable gap, just under 3 seconds.
One driver who's suddenly not looking comfortable is Ollie Wilkinson. There he goes in through Grand Corps, still in 4th place, but Konstantin Tereshchenko all over his tail. And first, second, and third is now really, really close, because Timo Bogoslawski got loose there.
He got out of shape. Now it was Dries van Tor in a position to take advantage of it. You could see Bogoslawski was fighting to keep on track.
Weerts has got a fantastic run up the hill this time around, because that loose moment down at Estoril, and surely Bogoslawski has to cover the inside. Cover. I'm coming, says Weerts up the inside. This could be the chance for Wilkinson to go past the two of them. Doesn't quite make it, stays in 4th place.
Well, I mean, Bogoslawski shut the door firmly, and Weerts was a missile on a mission. Got past, waved, yellow flag. That's for the car we saw earlier in the infield, just inside of the 180-degree corner. So Weerts gets the job done. It may be reviewed, but I think the decision would be he was quicker than the Mercedes at that point, and I would certainly look. Ollie Wilkinson now, he thinks he's going to have a sniff at the back of the Mercedes. I didn't know whether there was maybe a tyre damage to the Mercedes with that contact.
I think there was. I saw a bit of smoke as they left the Adelaide hairpin, and Ollie Wilkinson, I'm impressed. He could settle for 4th place. This is his first outing in the Sprint Cup, and he fancies a podium. I think he's run out of time. It's the rundown from Chateau d'Eau. But caps off, hats off, chapeau, as they say, to TalkSport WRT. Lucas Stoltz, what a performance. To be a big grin from him and from Maro Engel, because through the final couple of corners he comes with nobody else to be seen. Then comes the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and over the line it's Fiat's in that 2nd place, Bogoslawski 3rd, Wilkinson in 4th. There's Maro Engel. He's very happy.
After what they had to deal with last night, they are delighted. Great performance by the TalkSport team. Super pit stop, and they made it all the way from the pole position to the checkered flag. 2 pole sitters, 2 victors. There's got to be something in sitting in pole position here at Magny Cours.
Yeah, it's a bit like Monaco. Blink and they're exactly the same. But again, of course, that was a great run. And for Charles Weerts, if he keeps that 2nd place, slight question mark over the move, the Adelaide hairpin. A 1st and a 2nd will give them a massive lead when we leave this, the opening round of the Sprint Cup Series. But to the spoils of victory will go to TalkSport WRT, denied last night, but Maro Engel started it, and Lucas Stoltz certainly finished it this afternoon at Magny Cours. So a great result for that white number 6 Mercedes.
I would call that a very sweet victory for Maro Engel and Lucas Stoltz. Denied a good position, a good finishing position on Saturday night, make up for it. An exemplary drive, an exemplary job by the team. And Charles Weerts got his elbows out big time. He needed to, and it will be reviewed. It will be seen, was that an unfair overtake, or under the circumstances, watch again and look and see. The Mercedes goes defensive. It goes from left to right. And just, in Weerts says, what can you do? Basically, he's on the grass. He can't slow down. The coefficient of grip on the grass is not that of on the racetrack.
No, certainly that was fully across, and I almost think they both should be given a bit of a penalty there. Well, no, actually, I'm actually now starting to think Bogoslawski was more to blame there, and Ollie Wilkinson very nearly picked up 2nd position accordingly. He does cross the line in 4th place, though. Plenty of incident, and there's always a chance to make a go up at the Adelaide hairpin, but for Lucas Stoltz, he didn't even have to look in his mirrors after that 2nd restart. Nailed it. I think it's the track limits, man. Track limits.
What's that all about? Why was he going?
I think he's not concentrating.
That I've never seen a driver do on the slow down lap take to the grass, but on the inside of the exit of the corner.
So a race with 2 full course yellow and safety car periods, but by dint of a really good pit stop, a really good few laps after Maro Engel brought it in from the lead as Lucas Stoltz took over, and that cemented it for them to take the victory this afternoon, the 2nd of the 2 wins here at the circuit Magny Cours in the heart of France. So the first weekend of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup is now complete. We had victory last night for the 32 Team WRT Audi. Today it's 2nd place for them, and instead victory to Lucas Stoltz and Maro Engel, who started it off from pole position in their TalkSport WRT Mercedes. Timo Bogoslawski took 3rd at the finish, sharing with Raffaele Marciello. Ben Barnicoat and Oliver Wilkinson put the lone McLaren in the race for Jota up into 4th place. Konstantin Tereshchenko and Jim Pla in 5th place overall won the Silver Cup class, and the Pro-Am Club was down to just 0.3 of a second. Miguel Ramos sharing victory with Enrique Chavez there for Porsche Motorsport in 16th place overall, as Dominic Baumann and then Valentin Pierberg got right onto their tail. But down in Parc Fermé, there are 2 very happy drivers from the TalkSport WRT crew. Lucas Stoltz, he'll be hot after that run, but very pleased indeed, and delighted to watch it from the pit lane. Maro Engel will have very much enjoyed that, and there is a bumper fist from the man who makes it all happen, the man who creates SRO. Who is SRO? Who is Stefan Rattel? Now take a look at the silver classification double results. That's including the Monza results. Alex Fontana leads the way comfortably from Konstantin Tereshchenko, the class winner this afternoon. And Charles Weerts sweeping by and being gentleman he is, congratulating the race winners.
Well, I wonder what will be said between Timor and Charles. Will it be great race, mate? or come and see me behind the bicycle sheds. We'll sort it out later.
For Tima's teammates, Raffaele Marcello, top of the table there as we sweep through the order. But it was very tight at the finish. And across the two races, of course, it's looking very, very strong indeed. For Team WRT, the 32 crew that drive the red, white and black Audi there. Tall figure of Charles Weerts and Dries van Tor. They've had quite a weekend. Be interesting to see the flank of the car just beneath Dries's hand to see what paint damage there is after that side-on contact up at Adelaide.
Or in the case of modern racing cars, the body wrap.
The body wrap, yes indeed.
Because racing cars, now all the graphics on the cars are normally body wraps.
Well, let's hear from the drivers who took victory here this afternoon. Luca Stoltz, who brought it home, and Mauro Engel, who kicked it off. They're with Gemma.
Mauro, Luca, congratulations. A fantastic result for you guys. You arrived in here with absolute gusto.
Yeah, it was a fun race. I think for Mauro it was a bit more difficult than for me. At least it looked like that. But yeah, in the end I could manage, but it was still tough because we were going quite slow and had a huge pickup on the tires. It was not so easy to do the restart. But yeah, awesome race. The guys did a mega job at pit stop. And yeah, really happy to win finally.
Absolutely, well done. And Mauro, we saw you looking on with your fingers crossed under each of those safety car starts.
Well, when you experience what we had yesterday, you know, sort of late race drama, then you're always hoping things just go smoothly. And you know, I knew he would do a perfect job at the restarts, and he did. And yeah, just really happy for the whole team. Great way to come back after yesterday's disappointment.
Congratulations, well done to both of you.
Thank you.
Well, the winning duo that encapsulated their race. It was the restarts, just one of the golden features for them of this race. Two versions from Luca Stoltz, both different, both successful.
Very much the case, and of course you have to be prepared because full course yellow interventions, then safety car restarts, big part of this form of motor racing.
Well, let's head down and hear from our crew that finished second.
Dries, Charles, a fantastic result, and right at the end there, getting into second position.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race. Yes, Dries did a good qualifying, starting P4. Yeah, it looked like it was not as an easy race as yesterday, but that's actually zero races are easy to win, but this one was a bit harder. Dries did really well to keep Marcello behind and to keep up with the group in front. We had a good pit stop, but yeah, shout out to the guys of the 88 who looked to be a bit quicker, but that's also part of the competition, so that's good. And yeah, it was a shame for the full course yellow. I think, yeah, I could maybe pass the 88 a bit earlier, then yeah, maybe the 4, but so the number 6. But we never know. So yeah, pleased with the weekend. P1, P2 is definitely a good result for us.
Excellent stuff, and Dries, a slightly less dramatic stint for you, but a lot of pushing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I could manage to stay in P4 at the start, and the first 3 they were quite fast. Unfortunately, the number 163 got a puncture. He almost touched me, so it was quite close. Yeah, and then I just tried to manage to stick at the group. It was not as easy. The car was a bit more tricky, let's say. But then, yeah, Charles did an amazing move. Really happy. It was a proper lunge. But yeah, you know, good points, fast P1 and P2. Looking forward to the next round, and where we will try to score more points as well.
Excellent. Congratulations. Thanks again.
Thank you.
What a great phrase there from Dries van Tor. A proper lunge. We approve of moves like that.
Well, I mean, there wasn't anything left on the table for either driver, both defence and attack. Last lap, you know, a lot can be forgiven, both from those defending and those attacking. So, as far as I'm concerned, the result will stand.
Okay, let's hear from the crew that ended up in third place. Raffaele Marcello in the black and Timo Bogoslawski down with Gemma.
Congratulations, third place. A little bit difficult at the end there, Timur, as the Audi got past.
Yeah, we was have a bit oversteering, and because of this we don't have a good speed on the straight. Also a bit on the braking, Audi was better. Yeah, but anyway, it's a good point. So guys did an amazing pit stop. They did also a good job with recovery. So yeah, we need to prepare more for next round.
Absolutely, Raffaele. You're stood there as well? A few words?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good start. I was just behind the guys in front. Then the mechanics did an amazing job in the pit stop, and we were able to jump 2 positions. So I mean, it's a great result at 10 for points. A bit disappointed because we were P2, so we lost a few points, but at 10 it's the first round of the sprint championship, so P3, P5 is quite okay.
Thank you very much. Well done, both of you.
Good to hear there from Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marcello. And what you've got to do is score and score consistently. If you can be putting in podium results, then you're going to have a good chance in the sprint.
Yes, but as Timo Bogoslawski explained, when we saw it on camera, he got loose in Estoril, and immediately Dries van Thor was on it. So it gave, Charles Verts was on it. It gave the Audi the opportunity to put that move together. Now, it was a very marginal move for both drivers. Had Bogoslawski had a better exit out of Estoril, that situation wouldn't have even arisen.
No, and catching the two of them was the McLaren tucked in behind, getting a sort of double toe up the hill. But you've got to make your moves. It's the last lap, and that's when you grab them when you possibly can.
Certainly windy down in the Parc Fermé, as well as it is in the racetrack. That wind really has picked up over the last half an hour or so.
So the driver who gets to hold the large check quite possibly could take off down there. It goes the ACA ASP crew, so the fastest pit stop. And that's worth reiterating. They were 4 to 5 seconds quicker than some of their rivals in that pit stop. So that is an astonishing margin of pace in the change.
Full time and motion study. Yo!
Team ACA ASP, car number 88 of Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marcello.
So Raffaele Marcello and Timo Bogoslawski, we've heard them being interviewed, and they coming up to take their trophies for third place. Could have been the ones for second, not this time around, but looking at that driver lineup, you know they're going to be in the reckoning at every race meeting.
I mean, I can't imagine there'll be a race meeting where they will not be competing for certainly a podium, and there will be undoubtedly occasions when they will be standing on the winner's podium.
So then we go to the second place crew. It's the driver who started, Dries van Thor, and the driver who brought it home with that last lap overtake, Charles Verts, the team WRT Audi, number 32. They get the check, they get the trophies. So thumbs up, more points in the bank, a first and a second. That's a really fantastic haul in the Sprint Cup.
Consistency, I mean, you've got to finish first of all, and then you've got to make sure that the qualifying, well really you start with the qualifying to get the good position to give you the opportunity, but then you've got to mitigate all pit lane issues, driver changes, restarts under full course yellow safety car situations, and of course then yourself not make an error. It's that one little error that Timo Bogoslawski made on the last lap that cost him that podium position in second place.
Well, Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz, they were one of the two sets of winners here last year when they were racing for the Hout racing team. This year it's TalkSport WRT. It's always got a three-pointed star on the nose. There's such stars for Mercedes, and they too could be really, really strong challengers through the year. But they got 0 points in last night's race, so that's going to hurt them. So there's the top three crews. We've also got podiums coming up for the Silver Cup class and for the Pro-Am as well. But there's been some great racing here this weekend. John, and difficult conditions with the wind today and the darkness last night as well. Totally different.
I mean, great to have the variety of conditions. Racing at night time, all in preparation for the endurance round, the 6 hours of Paul Ricard, all helps drivers get accustomed to racing in darkness, likewise going on to Spa later in the year. And then a race today where the conditions overall were beautiful race conditions, with the exception of the strong wind.
Exactly so. So here we have third in the Silver Cup class, Arthur Rougier, brought into this team to join Alex Fontana this weekend when Norbert Siedler was injured yesterday. Second place in the Silver Cup class. It's the 107 Bentley crew, Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysses de Pauw. I think we found another new star in that CMR team. Certainly Pierre-Alexandre Jean, we know what he can do, very quick indeed, but Ulysses de Pauw made quite a splash here.
And great to see Bentley, who've potentially had a winning car for the last goodness knows number of years, but certainly to see the Bentley capable of running, and the straight line speed was just awesome.
So that's been quite remarkable. We're going to run short of time to have the Pro-Am Podium on screen, but Jim Parr and Konstantin Tereshchenko, 5th overall this afternoon. They win the Silver Cup class. They get the cheque for €10,000. The trophies, set of tyres from Pirelli. It's been a fine weekend. And John, what do you take from this meeting?
It's so competitive.
It's super competitive. It's how we like it. Next time out for the Sprint Cup, coming soon in June. It's Zandvoort, but this weekend it's goodbye from me, Bruce Joe, and from John Watson.
En deuxième, SPS Automotive Performance Carnival.